collided with a truck while attempting to overtake other vehicles on a narrow road. The horrific crash has thrust the issue of scholar transport safety back into the spotlight in the country. Yesterday, President Cyril Ramaphosa said government should explore implementing a public transport system specifically for learners. He was addressing the Basic Education Lekgotla in Boksburg yesterday. Alpha Ramushwana was there.
President Cyril Ramaphosa says government needs to draw lessons from the tragic scholar transport accident. He referenced the yellow school bus model, similar to that used in the United States, as a potential alternative to the current private scholar transport system.
In other countries, there are these wonderful buses. The drivers are well trained. We have inherited a system where there has been no real public transport for children to go to school.
For now, Ramaphosa says a serious talk is needed with the scholar transport sector.
The government now needs to sit back and talk also to the taxi owners and drivers and see the extent to which we can work together to improve scholar transport.
The Gauteng government has confirmed that the driver of the scholar transport involved in the fatal crash did not hold a valid professional driving permit. Alpha Ramshwana, Eyewitness News in Boksburg.
Gauteng police have launched a manhunt for suspects responsible for the murders of 5 people in Jeffsville near Pretoria. According to police, the victims, who were standing outside a tuck shop, were approached by a number of unknown assailants who began shooting at them. Police investigations are focusing on establishing a motive for that attack. Oren Singh reports.
According to police, the motive of the killing of 5 people in the informal settlement of Jeffsville near Attridgeville is yet to be determined. Preliminary reports suggest the murders were premeditated. Police spokesperson Brenda Murudili.
5 people were shot outside a tuck shop at Block JV by unknown assailants. The victims were all declared dead on the scene by paramedics. The Provincial Serious and Violent Crime Investigations, as well as Forensic Crime Scene Management, Crime Intelligence and Provincial Tracking Team are processing the scene and are interviewing witnesses to determine as to the circumstances that led to this shooting.
A case of 5 counts of murder will be registered as investigations continue. Arun Singh, Eyewitness News.
Former Independent Police Investigative Directorate head Robert McBride says the Crime Intelligence Slush Fund has always been abused by the unit to control politicians and generals. He says the multi-million rand fund is used by crime intelligence to do anything from paying off politicians to paying for a particular criminal investigation to disappear. McBride concluded evidence before Parliament's ad hoc committee investigating allegations of police corruption yesterday. Babalondenze has more.
Robert McBride says the fight over the control of the Crime Intelligence Slush Fund millions is all about control. He says at no point was the fund never not abused.
The scramble is for control of that. You control people, you control other policemen, you control generals, you control politicians.
He says the fund should not be used to buy properties and buildings, but rather to protect sources or to set up what he calls blind companies. McBride was referring to how crime intelligence spent 22.7 million rand from the secret funds on a boutique luxury hotel in Pretoria, sparking outrage.
You also don't buy buildings, because what if your agents get blown? What, you want to sell the whole building?
But McBride says he doesn't have any evidence linking the current head of crime intelligence, Dumsani Khumalo, to abusing the secret funds. Babalo Ndenze, Eyewitness News, Parliament.
We shift our focus to this now. South African households powered by Eskom can expect an outcome of the electricity hike revision on the 1st of April this year. Yesterday, the National Energy Regulator closed the window for public comment on tariff increase suggestions. This comes after the regulator approved an almost 6% increase in January last year, which was reversed after a calculating error emerged. Following public comment, the regulator will conduct assessments, which will be followed by a decision at the end of this month. NERSA spokesperson Charles Hlebela.
In terms of what increase that is going to be determined on the percentage or the amount thereof, we cannot say at the moment. That will be only known after that thorough assessment.
Environmental activist Ulrich Steenkamp had this to say about the looming increases.
Listen to the people. It's no need for us to continuously raise electricity tariffs to the point where we will be unable to afford it. So whether there's load shedding or not, our communities will remain dark because we won't have the money to pay for it.
And US President Donald Trump says his country is now exploring a potential deal on Greenland after talks with NATO. He has now backed off plans to impose tariffs on European allies that had opposed his plans for America to acquire the island. Trump took to his Truth social media platform, describing his meeting with NATO as very productive. Earlier, Trump had told the World Economic Forum in Davos that he would not use military force but wanted talks to secure ownership of the territory.
What we have gotten out of NATO is nothing except to protect Europe from the Soviet Union and now Russia. I mean, we've helped them for so many years. We've never gotten anything.
But now he's singing a slightly different tune.
Well, the deal is going to be put out pretty soon. I mean, we'll see. It's right now a little bit in progress, but pretty far along. It gets us everything we needed to.
Gold is trading at $4,803.82 an ounce. The rand is at 16.28 to the dollar, 21.85 to the pound, 19.02 to the euro, and Brent crude oil is at $64.92 a barrel.
And in the traffic, we've got delays on the M1 North between Boysons Road and the Crown Interchange. There's also queuing traffic in the south of Joburg, particularly along the N1 North heading towards the Diepkloof Interchange. Chris Honey Road in itself is backed up. This is just as you approach the Soweto Highway.
And in your sport, Bayern Munich are through to the last 16 of the Champions League. There was also victory last night for Barcelona, Liverpool, Newcastle, Chelsea and Juventus. In the Betway Premiership, TS Galaxy beat Galants 2-0. They're up to 5th on the table. And Pretoria Capitals blasted their way to the SA20 final, beating Sunrisers Eastern Cape by 7 wickets.
A partly cloudy Thursday in store for Gauteng with isolated showers and thundershowers expected. Johannesburg starting at a low of 13 degrees, peaking at 25. Pretoria 14 and 26 and Vereeniging 13 and 28 degrees. The top story in EWN this hour. The driver of a scholar transport in which 12 learners died this week is expected to appear in court this morning.
EWN, in touch, in tune and independent. For the latest, visit ewn.co.za or download the EWN app.
This is Breakfast with Bongani Bingwa
on 702.
Let's walk the talk.
10 minutes after 6 o'clock. Welcome to 702 Breakfast. It's a Thursday already. It's the 22nd of January, 2026. Good morning, 702 land, wherever you are listening to us from. Shout out to you in South Africa and indeed around the world. Right, on our menu today, Julius Malema returns to court. That's happening tomorrow. What will this sentence mean for the leader of the Red Berets? Could it spell doom for what was once a promising political career, or will he bounce back? We'll speak to the legal analyst and lawyer Ulrich Roux. Minister Dean McPherson joins us for our big interview. We're talking reform, resistance and results in public works. One of the issues he has tried to tackle, for example, is the construction mafia. There have been arrests, there have even been some convictions. But does that mean the industry has regained confidence enough to start projects rolling once again? And how much does the scandal that was the IDT and its former CEO a reflection of systemic-wide failures, or was it just an individual who thought she could get away with it? And then Nongqawuse, it's a story we all think we're familiar with, but there are so many unanswered questions. There are so many things that aren't clear. A new play seeks to unravel some of that and spark new conversations. It's called The Rise and Fall of an African Gospel.
This is Breakfast with Bongani Bingwa
on 702.
Let's walk the talk.
12 after 6, big news coming out of the Constitutional Court yesterday, particularly around marriage. And essentially what they've said, the judges, is be very sure you understand what you are doing when you decide to choose a spouse. If, for example, you're going to enter into some cultural process and You initiate lobola, negotiations. Make sure all the legal stuff is sorted before you do that. So if you want to have some kind of anti-nuptial agreement, with accrual, without accrual, out of community, any of those sort of legal arrangements, get all of that out of the way before you go and then do the traditional stuff. Typically, I think people do it the other way around, because the civil marriage, the one that you go to Home Affairs that has paperwork, is typically done after the lobola and the negotiations. And part of the thinking has always been, of course, and I was really curious about that aspect of that judgment. Part of the thinking has always been, particularly if you put on traditional African mindsets, that it isn't entirely up to the two individuals who are choosing to marry each other, that essentially it's also the families coming together, that the Bantus Badala, as it were, the elders in the family have to be part of the agreement, if not even indeed central to the agreement. And then you can then, once you've got their permission to do this, you can then come up with your own arrangements. I think that's how a lot of people would have typically approached it. The Concord saying, no, get the legalities out of the way and then do all of the largely ceremonial stuff. But if you do, the law will recognize it. And so it raises the question for me around marriage. If you're a married person, what do you look back, having been married for however long? Not even so much that you wish you had known. I mean, if that's what it is for you, fine, we'll have that conversation too. But what's the one thing you now know that you didn't before you got married? And do you think that most people are naive about what is required to make a marriage work? Has our society given us bells and whistles and ice cream and roses in ways that are idealistic but not realistic, not rooted in what sometimes is the trudgery of married life? The boring stuff, the hard stuff, the stuff you can't tell your friends about. Me, he made the bed today. That's not exciting, right? Do you follow what I'm saying? Let's talk on 011 883 0702 072 702 1702. And of course, it's a conversation that comes in the wake of that Constitutional Court decision yesterday around what marriage should look like in South Africa.
You're with Bongani Bingwa.
702 weekday mornings, 6 to 9 a.m.
As always, of course, 6:15. As always, I'm not alone. We've got an entire production team behind the scenes. Rofiwa Siamtanda, Karabo, the producers behind the show this morning. KG, controlling all the gizmos, starting clocks and doing all sorts of things. And a very good morning to you, Amoramila.
Good morning, Bongani.
You're a married woman.
I am indeed.
Happily married woman.
Happy. Mm-hmm.
Do you accept how lucky you are?
Oh, I do. Actually, I appreciate how lucky I am.
Right?
I really, really appreciate it.
When you look at, we always tease Amo because she always says, my husband Calvin. Everything starts with my husband Calvin. So when you think about the good qualities, the things you most adore about your husband Calvin, do you also look back at the mistakes you could have made with other people had you not chosen him?
I don't think I would have, ended up marrying the other people that I was with.
Sure, you didn't. I know. That's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
Do you look then back and go, if I had made that choice, that would have been
it does
moomish.
happen. It does.
That would have been a moomish.
Sometimes, but I don't dwell on it. Like you said,
dwell on it.
When you're in this bubble of appreciation, you appreciate what you have. It
and
matters
what's in
not
front of you.
And what's in front of you. It matters not what could have been.
Okay.
Yeah.
Muteo Kharipe, you realize you're one of the lucky ones?
Yeah, I
As
do.
a happily married man?
I mean, hindsight is a beautiful thing, isn't it? Because you can say, wow, okay, that would have turned out differently.
You know the moomishes you could have made.
No, look, you have to kiss a few frogs. And no offense. But
before you find your princess.
Exactly. So it's one of those things. And you realize, to your question, when you look at marriage, some of the things you realize and you learn after the fact is that it's more than just love. Well, for me.
Yeah, love is not enough.
Yeah, that's the rosy stuff is nice. It's great. It feels good, but it's far more commitment and more an investment than just LOVE.
I always argue that ultimately it's a choice. The difference between your friends and your siblings is that you choose. I mean, I'm talking about your really, really tight circle of friends, right? And friends will come and go. I fully accept that. But the people that are your core inner circle, you choose and you nurse that relationship and you nurture that relationship and you work at it. Whether it's time spent together, whether it's values shared, whether it's ideas, secrets, confidences, etc. You work at that relationship and you understand that if you don't, you will lose it, which is exactly why friends come and go, right? Similarly, I think to make a marriage work, you have to choose, and you have to choose each other over and over and over and over again. Amo, what's the one thing you now know that you didn't before you got married?
This is details matters.
Details matter.
Yeah, every detail matters. That number, also paperwork. Because going into marriage, I wasn't I was organized. Everything of mine that I did was planned but on paper, you sit down with your partner, with my husband at least, we sit down, we write everything down. What we want to do, how it's going to be done. And
your
if
goals and the things you're working towards.
And if there's an error, and just small things like groceries or budgets or whatever, everything is written down.
Yeah.
And if there's an error on that mistake, on the numbers, and I'm usually the one who usually makes mistakes. But anyway, details are so important. And I just, walking into marriage is something that I never really thought about.
Are most people naive because we think it's just a girl in front of a boy telling him how much she loves him? It's not that simple, is it? Let's talk.
Yo, Bongani, what I know now, what I didn't know before I got married, it is a scam. It is a total scam. I'm telling you, Bongani. If I knew that scam was going to be this big, I was not going to get married. I promise you. You get married, you pay. You get divorced, you pay. You change your surname, you pay. Like, it's just a pain going on. You've been miserable in your marriage, you pay. That is also paying. It's a scam, Bongani. I'm happy I'm divorced. Yo. It's a lot, yo.
There's a well-known divorce lawyer from the States. He's all over social media. I forget what the chap's name is. And he's got this incredible example where he speaks about skydiving. And he says there's a 0.0 chance of an accident happening when you skydive. There's even less of a chance that if something goes wrong, you will die, because there are safety mechanisms around that. And yet the divorce rate in America, I think it's something like 56% of all marriages end in divorce. And his argument is you would think very, very hard before you go skydiving. You would certainly make sure you are doing it with somebody who knows what they're doing, that you've put all the considerations, in your mind, you've thought about it, you've planned it, etc., etc., etc. Whereas most people will just jump into it because we feel good about each other in this moment without all the considerations. And yet the chances of things going wrong are significantly higher with a marriage than, say, with skydiving. Makes you think, doesn't it?
Hi, Bongani. Maybe to Amu's response in terms of she's content with what she's got now. I think maybe for other people is marrying the wrong person, and yet you think back and think, oh man, I could have married Bongani, who was amazing and what have you, but I didn't, and ended up with Spoo, who is like, oh my God, like, how could I have got it so wrong? So I'm, on the other hand, got it right. But when you get it so wrong and you do think about that one person that like really treated you well and was good, but you ended up somewhere else. Anyway, Refilwe Kempton Park.
Refilwe, don't do that. Don't torture yourself. Focus on what works or doesn't work with Smooth. Because your idea of the Bongani that you remember is in your head. There's a reason you guys walked away from each other, right? So whatever you think the Bongani that got away exists only in your head, not in reality. Focus on the SMU you have and make it work or not work with SMU and keep it to that. But don't torture yourself with the one who got away. There's a reason they got away.
Let's walk the talk.
702.
Muteo, you've got a question of your own?
Yeah, I'm also going to go a little bit personal. No, not that bad. Not that bad. I'm talking about personal care. So how much are you spending on personal grooming and feeling and smelling good? Is it a matter of...
It's something that's important to me.
To you.
If you're on YouTube, I mean, look at my skin.
You've invested.
And there's no filter.
You've invested. Amu, are you a soap, water, and deodorant person, or are you like Bongani and you?
I'm a very
willing
simple
to spend
person.
a fortune?
Oh, I'm very simple, and as long as I'm clean, right? Yeah, I will spend a little bit on makeup and.
I was about to
other
say,
things.
hey.
But I mean, I don't wear makeup every day. Only when I want to, I'll put it on.
Yeah.
When I do spend on the make, it would be good quality makeup.
They say take care of your skin when you're younger and it will look after you when you're older. So I'm that guy who has the toners, the cleansers, the serums, the moisturizers, the sunscreen, all of that.
Tell you why I'm asking.
Coming up.
702.
Weather.
What conditions can you expect on this Thursday? Joburg temperatures peaking at 25. Pretoria 26, Vereeniging 28 degrees. So partly cloudy Thursday with isolated showers and thunder showers in Gauteng. Durban, fine, becoming cloudy. Maximum of 31 degrees. Cape Town peaks at 27.
EWN Traffic.
This EWN Traffic is brought to you by Outsurance. SMS out to 451442 now and you could save on your car insurance. If you don't, ask them for 500 Rand. Amo, who has it right in traffic at the moment?
Well, if you're traveling on in Kaizen, North Riding, as well as Cosmo City, unfortunately, you don't have it right. We have delays on Malibongo Drive towards... This is towards Witkoppen Road, and there's also queuing traffic on Witkoppen Road. An accident has been reported there. It's right near Malibongo, so please be on the lookout. And then, of course, heading towards Ferndale, we've got more delays along Malibongo Drive approaching the N1, so queuing traffic within those areas. Please be on the lookout there and drive with care. In the city of Tshwane, we've got delays on the R80. This is between the Hairpin Band and Eskom Patlele Drive. Peak time delays here, but drive with care. We'll have more updates coming up. Stay tuned.
There's more EWN on air, online, and on the EWN app. The Outsurance pointsmen know that every car on the road carries a story. There's a car on the way to the hospital, carrying an elderly couple, playfully bantering about who their first grandchild will look like. The Outsurance pointsmen know it's not just a car in traffic. It's bringing two generations together. Every story is different and every story matters. That's why the Outsurance pointsmen have been doing what they do since 2005 in proud partnership with 702. Outsurance is a licensed insurer and FSP.
Start your day with Bongani Bingwa.
On 702. Let's walk the talk.
25 minutes after 6 o'clock, things you need to know. We're having this conversation about marriage, of course, because the Constitutional Court has ruled that anti-nuptial contracts signed after a customary marriage are invalid. The court struck down a law that allowed husbands to change the property system post-marriage, often stripping spouses of their joint estate rights. And it's a ruling that is meant to strengthen gender equality and particularly for protections for women in customary marriages. Listen to this. The teenage daughter of a controversial Zimbabwean politician, Paul Tungwarara, has sparked outrage after reportedly spending about 130,000 Rand on a shopping spree here in South Africa, drawing sharp criticism on social media. And I wonder what it makes you feel, for example, when you see someone, say who owes you money, spending on frivolities, non-essentials. Do you confront them about why are you spending X amount when you still owe me? Or have you been in a situation, maybe somebody has lost their job and, this is somebody close, near and dear, and you think, okay, let me go help out, let's go shopping. And you're expecting them to, buy 12,5 of mealie meal or flour, and they want to buy yogi sips. right? Have you been in that situation? You think you're helping somebody, you want to provide a need, and all they get are wants. How do you deal with that? Food racism. Adam Gilchrist has a fascinating story later on in The Worldview about two PhD students who are Indian who have won a $200,000 settlement from a university after citing racial discrimination. So essentially, some of their colleagues were objecting to food, Indian food they were warming in a microwave, and said this food contained pungent odors. And these two PhD students felt that they were harassed and discriminated against and in fact hounded off campus for simply preparing their traditional food. And I wonder if any of us have stories where we've been made to feel embarrassed about our traditional foods, or somebody reacting badly to it and going, ew, you eat that. Have you experienced food discrimination, food racism, for example, or cultural prejudice because of the food that you eat? And are there foods that you wouldn't eat in front of other people because you're worried about how they might react? I'd be keen to hear that story. A Cape Town Labour Court, this is so fascinating to me, has ordered that a worker was dismissed unfairly. So this guy is alleged to have taken home a single roll of toilet paper, and the court has argued that he must be reinstated and paid 120,000 Rand back in back pay. So essentially, this guy walks out of his workplace. The security guards look at the contents of his bag, and inside is this roll of toilet paper. He goes home. Somebody reviews the camera footage, and they decide that that roll of toilet paper looks similar to the ones that the office basically buys. And so they accuse him of stealing this roll of toilet paper. And he says, no, this was mine. And the court said because the security guards didn't stop him, it would be implied permission, even if it was the toilet paper roll from work. Isn't that a fascinating case? And on this day in 2012, the musician-singer Adele broke an American chart record that had stood for years after being originally set by the Beatles and Pink Floyd. The singer's second album, 21, the one that I think is the best out of all of them, clocked up to 16 weeks at number one on the US album charts, matching the success of the Titanic soundtrack.
702.
The newspapers.
Do we smell good? Do we look good? Muteo Kharipe wants to know. That question going to be answered in a moment. But in the meantime, Mbali Dlamini, good morning again.
Good morning.
What's grabbing your eye in the papers?
How comfortable are you speaking out against management when things are not going great at work? You don't have to answer.
To management, I think I can. Against, not so sure.
Okay, well, doctors in Ireland, there is a story on the Irish Independent this morning, and it's speaking about how doctors feel bullied and they're afraid to speak out on clinical errors that they make because they are afraid of losing their jobs. And these clinical errors are actually caused by systematic issues and operational issues within the hospitals at children's hospitals. So what's happening in Ireland is that everyone is so focused on making sure that the operations work in the hospitals, but they're not paying attention to HR issues. So the doctors are not being paid on time, they're being hired on the incorrect pay scale, they don't have name tags, they can't access systems. So that's affecting how they do their business. Therefore, they make mistakes, but they don't report their own mistakes because they're so afraid of HR. So they focus so much on operational issues, no one is paying attention to the actual humans who are working in the hospitals, and it's creating quite a mess.
Front page of the Sowetan, no prenups after Lobola. Concord ruling that any kind of contract entered into after the customary marriage is invalid. Did City boss gift ANC? Joburg seems to be rudderless, says the Citizen, with two centres of power in the ANC raising their ugly heads as city manager openly defies Mayor Dada Morero and swears allegiance to the new regional chair, Loyiso Masuku. And Business Day, front page, SA genocide, a red herring. Trump claims at Davos distract from Team SA's efforts. Remember, I spoke to the minister yesterday of electricity and said, aren't you relieved that he's not paying attention to us? Maybe he heard that interview, hey? And he's decided to say, South Africa, I still see you. Yeah.
EWN.
Right, Muteo, what's your curiosity about our grooming habits?
Well, Bongani, South Africa's beauty market is now worth 65 billion rand, fast becoming a key battleground for retailers grappling with a sluggish economy. Beauty and personal care products are now front and center. High-end department stores, value clothing chains, and even supermarkets are dedicating more shelf space to things like makeup, skin and hair care products. Now, according to market research firm Euromonitor International, South Africa's beauty and personal care market grew 7% year on year. The revenue opportunity is mouth-watering for retailers who have realized that even during bad economic times, we tend to spend a lot on beauty products. Now, this is called the lipstick effect, an economic theory where consumers facing financial hardship or economic downturns cut back on expensive purchases, but still spend on small, affordable luxuries like things like lipstick and smelling good. So no matter what happens with the economy, people are still willing to look their best.
You didn't answer the question for yourself. How well groomed are you in terms of your skin and all the rest of it?
It's getting better. I mean, I was a soap and water guy, but I mean...
Now, what do you use? Moisturizer?
Things like that.
What's your moisturizer brand?
I don't even know. It's things that my wife buys.
Vanishing cream. Where's the rand?
16.27 against the US dollar. 19 Rand 02 against the euro, and a 21 Rand 83 cents against the British pound. Price of gold at $4,798 an ounce. Platinum at $2,444. While Brent crude is at $65.33 a barrel. More business after 7:30.
All right, let's go straight to the news desk. Mbali Lamini, talk to us about the Human Settlements Department. What are they up to?
Well, Bongani, a very good morning. The Human Settlements Department has committed to rolling out houses constructed through innovative building technologies by April. Yesterday, Minister Thembi Simelane announced a summit to address the housing crisis. Simelane also announced the rollout of IBTSs, which are structures built with alternative materials as opposed to the traditional brick and mortar. She has presented these structures as a more durable, resilient structure which have been seen in other flood-stricken countries withstanding the storms. Khomotso Modise has more.
Human Settlements Minister Thembi Simelane says houses constructed through innovative building technologies will address the challenges of informal settlements and homelessness by those struck by disaster because they can be built rapidly and they are resilient and able to withstand disaster. She says while there have been pockets of areas where these structures have already been built, the mass rollout by government throughout the country will begin in April. The department's Director General Alec Muemi.
The key issue is going to be where it is obvious, and I'm saying obvious because those areas have flooded before. We know it. We have recorded it. In those areas, we have to start community engagements. It will be a lengthy, protracted process.
The department says the mapping process in preparation for the building should be completed by March. The summit, which will take place next month, is also expected to address more of the country's housing challenges, including the planting of informal settlements. Khomotso Modise, Eyewitness News, Pretoria.
While the DA has raised the alarm on the mushrooming of informal settlements in Gauteng, saying it requires legislative intervention. Party spokesperson on human settlements, Loyo Lombiti, says there needs to be a review of the laws. The current laws state that no one may be evicted without a court order, even if they are living on land illegally. Mbiti says many residents in Gauteng are struggling as the rapid growth of informal settlements continue to put a strain on land, infrastructure and basic services.
We will be conducting an oversight visit to areas that have been affected by land invasions to highlight the urgent need for legislative reform as it relates to the PI Act.
The Western Cape government says emergency health services were once again under extreme pressure over the festive season. More than 177,000 cases were dealt with between December and January. Stats for the period show emergency medical services responded to more than 47,000 incidents, while emergency centres across the province treated more than 130,000 patients. Carlo Peterson has more.
Chief Operating Officer for the Western Cape Department of Health and Wellness, Dr. Sadiq Karim, says emergency medical services teams responded to a total of 47,351 emergency calls during the festive season. Karim says 7,353 assault cases were reported, with 1,437 motor vehicle incidents and 93 drownings. 423 people were treated for gunshot wounds, while 4,450 stabbings were recorded.
These numbers again demonstrate the sustained pressure placed on our emergency centres over the festive season. Preventable trauma accounts for a significant portion of visits.
The Forensic Pathology Service confirmed 941 deaths, while road traffic fatalities increased from 89 to 117 compared to the same period last year. Carlo Peterson, Eyewitness News.
And Venezuela's interim president, Delcy Rodriguez, is set to visit the United States soon. This will make Rodriguez the first sitting Venezuelan president to visit the United States in more than a quarter century. The invitation reflects a shift in relations between the two countries since U.S. Delta Forces operatives seized President Nicolas Maduro and his wife. Maduro was transported to the United States to face drug trafficking charges. Trump hosted Venezuela's exiled opposition leader, Maria Machado, at the White House earlier this month. In your weather, a partly cloudy Thursday with isolated showers and thundershowers expected in Gauteng. Lows of between 13 and 14 degrees and highs of between 25 and 28.
Heading towards Rand Park Ridge, there's a car on fire along the N1 North. It's on the left lane. Please be on the lookout there. Of course, visibility will be reduced, so please approach with care and do slow down if you're traveling along the N1 North towards areas like Randburg as well as Fourways. While on the N3 North, we've got peak time delays between the Yellands turn off and Van Buren Road.
The top story in EWN, the Human Settlements Department has committed to rolling out houses constructed through innovative building technologies by April.
There's a new way to experience all your favorites. Pulse Africa, the 24/7 fast channel, now live on PrimeMediaPlus.com and the Prime Media Plus app, bringing you the best of Prime Media around the clock. Watch the biggest moments from 7:02. It's non-stop entertainment and authentic African storytelling, all from Africa's leading media network. Pulse Africa, only on the PrimeMediaPlus.com and Prime Media Plus app.
Dreaming of a tropical escape? World Leisure Holidays has your ticket to paradise with exclusive getaways to the Indian Ocean Islands. From the beaches of Mauritius and the Maldives to the charm of Madagascar, Seychelles, Zanzibar and more, your dream destination awaits. Take advantage of early bird specials and pay stay offers. Call 011-285-2500 and mention 702 for a mystery discount. Or follow us on social media or contact your nearest travel professional. Start planning your escape today. T's and C's apply.
Hello, January. You feel different to December. December was nice, wasn't it? January is strange like that. Because as much as December was easy, January is hard. Giving things up, getting fit, looking ahead, making plans, changing plans. And 11 months later, it's December again. And on it goes. Year after year after year. The thing is, December is how you should feel when you retire. And all the time you spend getting there should make it worth it. That's why, after 50 years of investing, we've learned that time is the greatest gift of all. And the good news is, if you invest early, time gives you money. And then money gives you more time to do the things you want to do. Like turning your Januaries into Decembers. Ellen Gray, long-term investing. Ellen Gray is an authorized FSP.
Need a seat? Try 7 or 5, it's your call. Want a sunroof? Make it a panoramic. Gotta have power? How does award-winning 138 kilowatt sound? The Chang'an CS75 Pro is big enough for the kids, smart enough for your playlist, and stylish enough for your Friday night too. Why settle when you can have it all without compromise? The Chang'an CS75 Pro. Drive tomorrow's SUV today. Visit chang'anmotors.co.za for more.
Chang'an, driven to evolve.
Coming up in the next hour, what's the question? It's brought to you by Outsurance. 3,000 Rand is up for grabs. You send us an answer based on something that piqued your interest during the show, we'll give you $1,000. Simply WhatsApp us your name and the answer to 072-702-1702. Later, someone will ask a question to get your answer to win 2,000 Rand. SMS out to 45142 now, and you could save on your car insurance.
702. WhatsApp Bongani on 072
702 1702.
Morning, Bongani. As for me, what I learned is before getting married, check your financial background. Check your partner's financial status. Current status, financially, is important before you sign on that document that I do. Because once you sign that document, all your financial baggage becomes yours. And there's no escaping it. There's no going back and say, oh no, this was not my debt. This is not, it becomes your debt. Walter from Cape Town.
Hello, Wangani. Mostly women will say this marriage is a scam. The reason they think it's a scam is, all these flashy things, their friends or what they see, these housewife reality shows is what they want to come in the marriage with. They're not working their marriage up, to say, just because this guy is not earning this, they are not coming also to the table to say, okay, this is where we are, let's do A, B, and C. But all they will put their mind to is, my friends are getting this, and they still need that outside life.
Morning, Bongani and the team in 72 Landers. So I am a new 2026 bride. With that being said, we had the tough conversation quite earlier on. I think having to go through the marital contracts that are there, the pros and cons, and we had a hard look at it. For me personally, I've always known that I do want to enter into an anti-nuptial agreement. I think it's just the most wisest, smartest thing to do because, again, it is a legally binding contract after all, guys. And so I think people should be knowledgeable going into this before the uncles send the letters, they come to the gates. These services are rather much better to do before, and even the, cheapness of it in a sense. But yeah, people must just read.
Hey, Bongani. Woo, marriage is wonderful, guys. But the trick is you have to be stupid to stay happy in marriage. I'm telling you. You have to be stupid. Pretend as if, not even pretend, just be stupid. And you live happily ever after.
EWN Sport.
Cindy Paluta, let's get straight into Champions League action. Results from last night.
Absolutely, because a 10-man Bayern Munich beat Union Saint-Gilloise 2-0. They're through to the last 16 of the Champions League. Kane with both goals. Barcelona got a 4-2 win over Slavia Prague. Juventus beat Benfica 2-0. Chelsea beat Pafos 1-0. Newcastle with a 3-0 win over Eindhoven. And Liverpool beat Marseille 3-0. The media afterwards asking Reds boss Arne Slot if he knows anything about rumours of Xabi Alonso taking over as manager at Liverpool. Slot was sarcastic and joking in his response.
He all called me and asked, what do you think about the team? Because I'm going to take over in 6 months. So can you tell me a little bit more? Or maybe earlier, maybe he takes over tomorrow. No. This is one of the most weirdest questions I've ever got.
Also wins last night for Qarabağ and Athletic, while Galatasaray held Atletico 1-1. Manchester City's squad has agreed to refund fans the money spent on tickets to watch them lose to Bodo Glimt on Tuesday. Average price ticket there was R600. Back home in the Betway Premiership, TS Galaxy last night beating Maruma Gallants 2-0. They're up to 5th on the table. In cricket, Pretoria Capitals are through to the SA20 final. They beat Sunrisers Eastern Cape by 7 wickets. Sunrisers posted 170 for 7. Man of the match Parsons taking 3 wickets. He then smashed 60 from 44 to help Pretoria to the win. Brevis finished unbeaten on 75 from 38. Here's Brevis.
It was very special to be able to be there out there for the boys. Finish it obviously with Shafane, but Bryce played such a key role as well with ball in hand and the batting. But it was really nice to know that we're going straight into the finals. We've got some time to recover and to prepare. But yeah, very proud of the boys, and it was a team effort. We all fight it out there.
This means Sunrisers meet the winner of tonight's eliminator between Paul Royals and the Joburg Super Kings. The ICC's rejected Bangladesh's request to move their T20 World Cup matches from India to co-host Sri Lanka next month, citing safety concerns. There is an ODI today, Sri Lanka against England. And live tennis from the Australian Open, Djokovic leads Mastreli 2-0. Through earlier today went women's defending champion Keys and the men's 5th seed Musetti. Cindy Paluta, Eyewitness News Sport.
The Brainy Kids of the Whiz Quiz
on 702.
Hello, Uncle Bongani. My name is Hannah. I'm
11 years old and I am homeschooled. When I grow up, I would like to be an investigative journalist, and I'm very excited to play the Whiz Quiz with you.
Oh, we want to give you 10,000 Rand. You know how I feel about investigative journalists, Hannah.
702.
Coming up at 7:15, the big interview.
EWN.
13 to 7 is catch up at the roads. There's a car on fire on the N1 North, Amo.
That's
How
correct.
bad is that?
That's correct, Bongani. This is just as you head towards Rand Park Ridge, is causing about a 20-minute hold-up already coming out of the south of Joburg, particularly Soweto. So please be on the lookout there and approach with care. Do slow down because your visibility will be reduced, and approach with care. And then if you're traveling along the Kaya Sand area, do expect delays on Malibongo Drive towards Vetkoppen Road. Vetkoppen Road in itself backed up due to an accident right near Malibongo turn off. And there's also queuing traffic in Sharon Lee just as you head towards Randbeck. This is about a 15-minute hold-up between Vetkoppen Road and the N1. I'll have more traffic updates coming up. Stay tuned.
There's more EWN on air, online, and on the EWN app.
Got big dreams for 2026? New goals, new adventures, new car? Don't wait. Let's jumpstart your January with up to 75,000 Rand cash back when you buy selected quality pre-owned cars from participating Motor Select dealerships nationwide. Don't wait for life to happen. Make it happen with Motor Select. Deal ends Saturday, 24 January. Hurry to motorselect.co.za now. T's and C's apply.
Get down to Dis-Chem this Friday 23rd to Sunday 25th January for incredible one weekend only 2+1 cheapest free deals on the widest range of sports supplements and energy drinks from top brands, excluding advertised products. Remember to swipe your Dis-Chem Better Rewards card to get an extra 10% off on Better Rewards brands. Level up your fitness gains this summer. Get 2+1 cheapest free on sports supplements this weekend only. Dis-Chem. Better health starts here.
Naked people are great dancers. Because naked people spend less time on insurance admin, they have more time to perfect their moves. Go to naked.insure now, get a car insurance quote in 90 seconds, and get naked. Naked Financial Technology is an authorized FSP.
Join us.
Let's walk the talk.
This is 702.
Morning, Bongles. Can you imagine someone bringing a smiley to work and putting that in the microwave and heating it? How long is that smell going to stay embedded in the microwave, and the entire office space is going to smell of that? Is that acceptable? I don't think so.
Why not? Why not? I mean, people will melt all kinds of things. I mean, if you bring, I don't know, blue cheese, right? And you do a whole melted blue cheese thing in the microwave, and somebody else who may not be familiar with what blue cheese is, do they get then to object and you're okay with that? Who decides who has the right to police other people's food in those environments? See, that's the thing you need to ask yourself.
Who is the whizziest of them all?
It's the Whiz Quiz on 702.
Play with Hannah today, who is 11 years old, is homeschooled, and wants to be an investigative journalist. And having been involved in investigative journalism myself, Hannah, I want to give you this money, hey?
Yeah.
Why do you want to be an investigative journalist?
Because I like writing.
You like writing and you want to tell stories, hey?
Yes.
All right, let's see how well you do in the Whiz Quiz. KG, let's start the clock. Spell the word cycling.
SYCLING.
It's CYCLING. What is 11 times 8?
88.
Correct. Which company makes a laptop called MacBook Pro?
Pass.
Apple. Complete the name of the South African soccer team. Orlando what?
Pirates.
Correct. True or false? The abbreviation FYI means for your information.
True.
Correct. In cartoons, in which city does Batman live?
Pass.
Gotham City. Which South African city has Table Mountain?
Cape Town.
Correct. Complete the idiom. Now he has opened a can of what?
Pass.
Worms. True or false? The term quadruple means 3 times.
False.
Correct. In collective nouns, the word I cannot complete the question. Not a bad round there for you, Hannah. Not a bad round. 500 Rand is what you walk away with. 5 correct answers.
The brainy kids of the Whiz Quiz.
On 702.
Current events, developing stories,
Tough questions.
your voice making a difference.
This is Breakfast with Bongani Bingwa.
8 minutes before 7 o'clock. For whom the bell tolls? Will the axe fall on the EFF leader Julius Malema's political career? So tomorrow the East London Magistrates Court will convene for his pre-sentence hearing after convicting him last year on multiple firearms-related charges. And these are serious. The unlawful possession of a firearm and ammunition, firing it in public, reckless endangerment, and failing to take reasonable precautions. Now, under South African law, some of these offences carry a minimum sentence of up to 15 years. And as you may know, no politician can remain a member of parliament if they've been sentenced to more than 12 months imprisonment without the option of a fine. It's partly why, even though, say, Jacob Zuma leads the Nongqawuse party, is not an MP. Now, to help us unpack what the law actually says and about these things and what might be at stake, we're joined by Ulrich Roux, who is an attorney based in Johannesburg. Ulrich, always a pleasure to have you on the show. Thank you for your time.
Hi, good morning, Bongani. Thank you for having me.
All right, so this is a pre-sentencing hearing. Just give us context as to the important decisions the court must make through that process.
Yes, so Julius Malema has been convicted of all the offences which you've listed, which is quite a list of offences. So now it's up to sentencing by the court and to hand down a just sentence in accordance with the crimes that he's been convicted of. Now, for the court to be able to do so, the court will listen to aggravating circumstances, which will be presented by the state and evidence presented by the state, as well as mitigating circumstances, which is evidence presented by Julius Malema and his legal representatives in order to try and convince the court to hand down as lenient a sentence as possible. Now, the three main factors that the court will consider are the personal circumstances of the accused, then secondly, the severity of the offence, and then thirdly, the message that is sent out to society. So in other words, is a strong message sent out in order to deter people from committing similar offences in future, or is the court going to send out a message that it is lenient, that he has shown remorse, etc. So one can expect Julius Malema to present what we refer to as a pre-sentence report. Now, that is a report that is submitted by either a social worker in private practice or a person from the Department of Correctional Services to try and convince the court that he should not be sent to a custodial sentence. In other words, that he should not serve jail time for these offences that he has committed. So certainly a lot of evidence that will still be led before a sentence is finally handed down in this matter.
Can he argue successfully in mitigation of sentence if at the same time part of his media statements, or certainly by his political party, is that this is a political trial, that part of why he's being prosecuted was that he's being persecuted politically?
Well, that was his version throughout the trial. He had all times said that it was in fact a toy gun, and that the only reason why he is being prosecuted is because of the political influence, as you correctly point out. The court rejected that version. The court found that the firearm was not a toy firearm, that the evidence led and the ballistic evidence that was led clearly indicated that it was a real firearm, that there was a muzzle. In other words, you could see the bullet being discharged from the front of the firearm, that the sound that it made was clearly that of a real firearm, and that his version was rejected. So I think he won't benefit whatsoever to continue claiming that. What he should do now is to indeed show remorse and to accept that he's been convicted of these crimes, and that he's a person that should rather be rehabilitated in terms of either a suspended sentence or correctional supervision, rather than a person who needs
Yeah.
to be rehabilitated through jail.
Remorse.
So
Remorse is not
remorse
really,
is an important factor, yes.
I was going to say remorse isn't really his style, isn't it? He's vowed to appeal this all the way to the Constitutional Court. Can a Stalingrad type approach work?
Yes, so if he is convicted and sentenced, he then obviously has the option to either appeal the conviction or the sentence or both. But once he is convicted, he would then have to, if he receives a custodial sentence, he would have to apply to be released on bail pending the appeal. And then, there would be strict timelines set by the court, one would expect, for the appeal to be prosecuted. If it turns out that he is trying to delay the finalization of the matter, or as you say, adopts a Stalingrad approach, then the state also has means within which it can speed up the process and bring interlocutory applications, to ensure that justice is served in this matter, and that a swift resolution is made to the matter.
We spoke about the seriousness of the charges. That phrase, up to 15 years, doing the rounds now. I mean, can he realistically avoid a custodial sentence? And in your assessment, what might the court's decision likely be?
Yes, so the offences that he has been convicted of do not carry a minimum sentence. So what that means is that, there's a prescribed minimum sentences act, which says that if you commit a number of serious offences as listed in the act, then the court is bound to hand down a sentence of a minimum of 15 years, unless the accused person can prove exceptional circumstances which forces the court to deviate from this minimum sentence. Now, that is not applicable to any of the offences that he has been convicted of. As you correctly point out, the maximum sentence that he could receive is 15 years imprisonment. In this instance, it was evidence that was laid by the state that he did place people's lives in danger. Whether that is indeed the truth, or whether there was a serious degree of danger, one, in my view, is debatable. So I think that plays a big role in the sentencing. I would be surprised if he receives a lengthy period of imprisonment, but I do think a shorter term of imprisonment coupled with a suspended sentence is most likely a reasonable
Under 12 months?
That we are looking at.
Under 12 months, do you think?
That is
that's the nub of it,
question
isn't it?
on everyone's lips, Bongani. It's a difficult question to answer. One would have to wait and see what the evidence is that he leads. I think that if he does show remorse, it's going to play a big role. But if he refuses to accept responsibility and he shows no remorse, then he could very well be receiving more than 12 months imprisonment, in my view.
Quickly, Ulrich, how do pardons work in South Africa? Can the president or even the successor, the next one, pardon him?
Well, it's the setting aside of a sentence. So if he is convicted, then if he receives a sentence that's non-custodial and either a fine of 20,000 rand or less, then that conviction can be set aside. A pardon is a completely different story and a very lengthy process. Theoretically, the president could pardon him. I think in this instance, that's very unlikely.
We're not in America, are we? Ulrich Roux, always appreciate your time. Lawyer practicing
Thank you,
in
Bongani.
Johannesburg.
702.
Coming up, the big interview.
Do you think Julius Malema is the kind who has that kind of remorse? Up next, we speak to Minister Dean McPherson. He is trying to reform public works. What can he do to fix a system that can have signs of being broken? Where are the fault lines? He'll tell us about that after this Eyewitness News.
This is EWN.
President Ramaphosa talks tough on scholar transport safety and several people missing following a landslide in New Zealand. Good morning, I'm Bali Dlamini. President Cyril Ramaphosa says he plans on issuing an instruction for the Basic Education Department to find ways to make scholar transport safer. This is on the back of a tragic accident in Vanderbijl Park earlier this week that claimed the lives of 12 children. It's understood that a minibus scholar transport taxi was attempting to overtake on a narrow road when it collided with a truck. Speaking on the sidelines of the Basic Education Lekgotla in Boksburg yesterday, Ramaphosa stressed the urgent need to improve scholar transport safety. Alpha Ramushwana reports.
The Gauteng government says the driver involved in the fatal scholar transport crash was operating with an expired professional driving permit. Dashcam footage shows the minibus driving on the oncoming section of a narrow road before attempting to move aside but was struck by a truck. President Cyril Ramaphosa says he's deeply pained by the loss of the children's lives in what appears to be a case of negligent driving.
I'm going to be directing the Minister and Transport and all the others to look at how we can save the lives of our children. Our children are the future, and they are the most prized possession that we have as a nation.
Meanwhile, the 22-year-old driver of the scholar transport has been arrested and charged with culpable homicide as well as negligent driving. Alpha Ramshwana, Eyewitness News in Boksburg.
Let's stay with the story. In reports coming in this morning, the Transport Department is currently conducting surprise raids on scholar transport vehicles across the south of Johannesburg today. The blitz comes in the wake of that deadly scholar transport crash in Vanderbijl Park earlier this week. The tragedy has forced government into action with promises of tougher oversight as well as reform in a sector long plagued by safety concerns. We will be taking you live to Mongezi Koko, our reporter who is on the scene of those raids for you this morning. To this now, former Independent Police Investigative Directorate Head Robert McBride says the Crime Intelligence Slush Fund has always been abused by the unit to control politicians as well as generals. He says the multi-million rand fund is used by crime intelligence to do anything from paying off politicians to paying for a particular criminal investigation to disappear. McBride concluded evidence before Parliament's ad hoc committee, which is investigating allegations of police corruption. Babalondenze reports.
Robert McBride says the fight over the control of the Crime Intelligence Slush Fund millions is all about control. He says at no point was the fund never not abused.
The scramble is for control of that. You control people, you control other policemen, you control generals, you control politicians.
He says the fund should not be used to buy properties and buildings, but rather to protect sources or to set up what he calls blind companies. McBride was referring to how crime intelligence spent 22.7 million rand from the secret funds on a boutique luxury hotel in Pretoria, sparking outrage.
You also don't buy buildings, because what if your agents get blown? What, you want to sell the whole building?
But McBride says he doesn't have any evidence linking the current head of crime intelligence, Dumsani Khumalo, to abusing the secret funds. Babalo Ndenze, Eyewitness News, Parliament.
To the courts now. Cell phone data presented in court shows that the accused Palapala burglars had extensive contact prior to breaking into President Cyril Ramaphosa's farm. Yesterday, a data analyst who cannot be named to protect his identity testified in the burglary trial, which is sitting at the Mudimule Regional Court in Limpopo. Emanuela David, along with siblings Ndili Nasho and Froliana Joseph, are charged with breaking and entering into President Cyril Ramaphosa's farm and making off with $580,000 in cash. Tabiso Koba reports.
Testifying in court, the data analyst analyzed the movements of the main 6 people allegedly behind the robbery. They include the 3 accused persons, the transporter who turned state witness, and 2 adult males who have since fled to Namibia. The analyst says on the day of the robbery, their cell phone data shows they were all in the Bela Bela CBD. The analyst says later that day, their phones were also pinged in the same vicinity of the Parapara farm.
The handsets with cell phone numbers associated with all these individuals activated cell phone towers in the vicinity of Palapala farm around the same times.
The trial resumes on Friday for cross-examination. Tabiso Koba, Eyewitness News.
To this now, legal experts say it's important for anyone thinking of getting married to familiarize themselves with the law. It comes after the Constitutional Court declared anti-nuptial contracts as invalid when signed after a customary marriage. This means once a customary marriage exists, couples cannot later change that marriage unless a court formally approves it. The judgment follows a divorce dispute where a couple signed an anti-nuptial contract years after a customary marriage, resulting in the marriage being in community of property. Attorney at Women's Legal Centre Kensani Matileni has emphasized the importance of getting legal advice when thinking of getting married.
For there to be real impact and substantial change through women's agency in negotiating their rights and education on those rights is very, very critical. The RCMA historically was enacted to ensure equality in and of customary marriages. So much more needs to be done to ensure that those choosing customary marriages are aware of what the law allows. Similarly, the state must ensure that all laws and policy address discrimination and does not amplify it.
And in New Zealand, several people are missing this morning after a landslide at a campground. The slip has been described as a major incident which hit camper vans, cars and tents. According to local media, search and rescue teams, including 40 firefighters and sniffer dogs, have responded to the incident. It's understood those missing are stuck under the rubble, with rescue teams working to reach them. Authorities say at this stage, the number of those who are missing is not yet clear. Gold is trading at $4,803.82 an ounce. The rand is at 16.28 to the dollar, 21.85 to the pound, 19.02 to the euro, and Brent crude oil is at $64.92 a barrel.
And in the traffic in Germiston, there's been an accident. It's on the M2 West. It's right near Refinery Road. It's causing delays coming out of the Geldenhuys interchange and traveling not far from this scene. More delays along the N3 North between the Fort Ricker Road exit and the Geldenhuys interchange due to another accident scene.
And in your sport, Bayern, Barca, Liverpool, Juventus, Newcastle and Chelsea all get wins in the Champions League. Pretoria Capitals blast their way to the SA20 final after a 7-wicket win over Sunrisers Eastern Cape. And the women's defending champion, Madison Keys, cruises to the third round of the Australian Open.
A partly cloudy Thursday with isolated showers and thundershowers expected in Gauteng. Lows of between 13 and 14 degrees and highs of between 25 and 28. The top story in EWN this hour, President Cyril Ramaphosa says he plans on issuing an instruction for the Basic Education Department to find ways to make scholar transport safer.
EWN, in touch, in tune and independent. For the latest, visit ewn.co.za or download the EWN app.
This is Breakfast with Bongani Bingwa
On 702.
Let's walk the talk.
Yes, indeed. Let's pick up on that issue 9 minutes after 7 o'clock. The president saying there has to be better standards as far as scholar transport safety is concerned. I want you to listen to this clip recorded by Atik Eleba, who is the head of digital communications for the South African presidency. A conversation between the Basic Education Minister Sivuyo Kwahube and President Cyril Ramaphosa.
Obviously, our big problem is not the 700,000 we have in our database, it's the private ones. So government transport is not registered, we don't know. So that's why we want to be able to encourage them to register and be able to have that kind of identifier. Because, you know, if you look at the footage from yesterday, that was just reckless.
It was reckless. I mean, he was trying to overtake like 4 cars all at one go, and they're training. And I would like to see much more rigorous training, and they should be trained more or less like my drivers. Real good training.
Thank you, sir. I really appreciate it.
You're doing well.
Thank you so much, sir.
Isn't that interesting to just listen to that interaction? 2 politicians from opposing parties speaking in that manner, trying to solve a problem. Maybe that's part of the good of the GNU. Yesterday, the US President Donald Trump repeating claims of white genocide in South Africa. You remember my interview with the electricity minister yesterday, who is also in Davos, and there was some relief about South Africa being off his mind. Well, it seems we are back. Have a listen to Channel 4 News senior political correspondent Paul McNamara summarizing and maybe even also giving some analysis of President Trump's remarks made at the World Economic Forum in Davos, Switzerland yesterday.
This was a long and wide-ranging speech full of every sort of big, beautiful Trumpism. There were repeated attacks on NATO. There was a less than full grasp on detail. On 4 separate occasions, he confused Greenland with Iceland. And there were a number of, let's call them, inaccuracies. He said, quote, "After the war, we gave Greenland back to Denmark." That didn't happen. He also said the United States was paying for virtually 100% of NATO. It's estimated it was actually about 62% last year. On the substance, though, there has been annoyance on his repeated claims that the European nations aren't doing enough for their commitment to NATO. Remember, the only time that Article 5 of NATO has been invoked has been in defence of the United States after 9/11. There have also been consequences. The European Parliament's International Trade Committees tonight confirming that the EU-US trade deal has been suspended. In the last half hour, Donald Trump was asked what he was talking about, what consequences there might be for Denmark if he doesn't get what he wants. What are they? He said, quote, "You'll have to figure that out for yourself."
So there's a joke doing the rounds, and it's meant to be Ursula von der Leyen on a call with Donald Trump. So she phones him and she says, "You want to hear a joke?" Trump says, "Yes, of course." "Greenland," she says. "I don't get it," he replies. "No, and you never will."
This is Breakfast with Bongani Bingwa
on 702.
Let's walk the talk.
Things you need to know at this hour. Johannesburg High Court has convicted a loan shark, Busisiwe Dladla, of murder after a client who defaulted on a 15,000 rand loan was kidnapped, tortured, and later died from his injuries. The court found that she'd orchestrated abductions to force repayment, with money extorted from the victim's family and laundered through her own family members. Scientists have discovered what they're calling dark oxygen, and it's oxygen produced in total darkness in the deep sea floor, challenging what we know about life on Earth. And do the politicians really deserve all that protection? The South African government spent about 3.7 billion rand on VIP protection services for politicians, traditional leaders, and other dignitaries in the 24-2025 financial year. And a Cape Town Labour Court has ordered that a worker dismissed unfairly for allegedly taking home a single roll of toilet paper must be reinstated and paid back 120,000 rand in back pay. The court found the employer failed to prove the toilet roll was stolen and criticized how poorly the company handled its investigation.
702. Up next,
The Big Interview.
EWN Traffic.
Up next, Minister Dean McPherson on reform, resistance and results in the Department of Public Works. In the meantime, this EWN Traffic is brought to you by Outsurance. SMS out to 45142 now. You could save on your car insurance. If you don't, ask them for 500 rand. There was a crash in Germiston on the M2 East. Amo, how's that looking?
Bongani, it's really looking bad. It's right along the M2 East, as you say, right near Refinery Road. It's causing heavy traffic volumes coming out of the Geldenhuys interchange. There's also queuing traffic on the N3 North due to another accident seen coming out of the Elands turn off. Do budget about a 40-minute hold up if you are stuck along this route. And then, of course, if you're heading towards Bedford View, more delays on the N12 West. This is between Craft Road and the Kilulis interchange. I'll have more traffic updates for you. Stay tuned.
There's more EWN on air, online, and on the EWN app.
The Outsurance Pointsman can't help with your kids' school stationery shopping list, but they can ease the traffic congestion so you get to the shops in time to snag the best pencil case. With the Outsurance Pointsman on the roads for the past 20 years, we can all get to where we need to be quickly and safely in the new year. Outsurance really means it when they say you always get something out. In proud partnership with 702. Show them some love online using hashtag PointsmanLove. Outsurance is a licensed insurer and FSP.
702.
The Big Interview
with Bongani Bingwa.
16 minutes after 7 o'clock. Public Works sits at the fault line of South Africa's deepest frustrations and perhaps you could argue its boldest hopes. Think about it. Schools, clinics left unfinished, construction sites often held hostage by extortion gangs, small contractors pushed to the brink because of late payments from the state. These aren't just abstract failures. They are the daily obstacles to growth, dignity, perhaps even delivery. Last week, two developments sharpened the focus. The CEO of the Independent Development Trust stepped down. No golden handshake after a disciplinary hearing linked to an 836 million rand oxygen plant project. At the same time, the Public Protector cleared Public Works and Infrastructure Minister Dean McPherson of allegations of improperly interfering within that very entity. So this morning, we've invited him and he's graciously agreed to join us in the studio to talk about the work that is unfolding in his department. Minister Dean McPherson, thank you so much for popping into the studio. Welcome to 702 Breakfast.
Thanks, Bongani. It's great to be here. It's actually a little bit surreal. The last time I sat here, TD Madia was sitting in your seat.
Gosh.
And I still miss her immensely. She was an amazing person for this organization, and I miss having the tough questions, so I'm sure you've got a few lined up for me.
You're putting me under pressure now because now I have to rise to the level of TD Madia. All right, let's get straight into it. I mean, when you scan your portfolio right now, public works, infrastructure, state entities, what would you say is changing because of the efforts you're putting in, and where are the areas where there's stubborn resistance?
Yeah, it's a good question, and I think I didn't quite know what I was getting myself into. But if you think about it, Public Works really has for so long just become a manager of bad buildings, an overseer of incomplete projects, when it should actually really be an economic engine for growth and jobs. And that's how we've really tried to restructure and reposition the portfolio, is to become something that thinks in advance, acts with vision, and delivers with purpose, and so that's really where we are headed. And I think that some of the work that we've done has really paid off. Up until Q3 of last year, there had been 3 consecutive declining GDP contributions from the construction sector. That flipped for the first time in a year. In the third quarter of last year, we saw 130,000 new jobs created in the construction sector. And that was 50% of all new jobs in the country. And so I think that some of our policy interventions, some of our structural interventions are starting to pay off. Of course, we still have areas of weakness, particularly when it comes to the completion of projects on time and on budget. And also what we do with all of these assets that the state owns, whether those are public buildings, land, etc., and we are now moving into a new iteration of what to do with that.
I mean, I mentioned this IDT issue in my introduction. The former CEO, Tebogo Malaga, dominated headlines, of course, when she was caught on camera trying to bribe a journalist. And I wonder if the brazenness of that attempt suggests someone who thought they could get away with it. And it almost gives you a sense that it wasn't an isolated problem, that this is the kind of thing that can happen. What's your view on it?
Yeah, I think it's definitely is a microcosm for what was going on and possibly still could be going on in some places. That people thought that they enjoyed protection from wherever that may exist, and that they could actually get away with it, that they didn't have to deliver, they could appoint to contractors that didn't meet minimum specifications, and that people that were charged with responsibility didn't actually have to uphold that. And you'll remember, Bongani, it's well documented that when I started the cleanup of the IDT, I was crucified. I was on the front page of certain media publications being called corrupt, bribing journalists, and all sorts of horrible things. Really personally affected me. Death threats that came our way.
Death threats.
Death threats.
Tell me about the death threats.
Well, I mean, there were actually WhatsApp conversations that the law enforcement agencies had intercepted, where they were actually discussing
how to
my
take
demise.
you out.
And that's not great when you get given that sort of thing.
Understatement of the year.
Yeah. So, but it's the territory in which you operate in, and so, but we were determined to get to the bottom of what was going on there because we believed that it was in a bigger network than what we fully understood.
I'll come back to that cleanup, but specifically when it comes to Tebogo Malaka, she's gone from the entity. Does that mean she will escape without criminal liability?
Absolutely not. And I was very forthright to the board that no golden handshake could be paid. So when they came to me and said, this is what we are looking at, and that she wants to resign before the disciplinary hearing, I was adamant that no golden handshake or exit payments could be made. And I also made it very clear to the board that her resignation does not absolve her from criminal or civil litigation. And you will recall, Bongani, that it was I myself, the Minister of Public Works, that went and actually personally criminally charged her, because I made it very clear to everyone in the department that if you steal or you do anything wrong, I will personally deal with that.
All right, let's talk about the public protector. She's cleared you of breaching the ethics code, but raised concerns about political interference.
Well, no, what she did is she said, actually, I did the right thing. She said that a complaint was laid with the presidency that a company wasn't being paid on time, 2 years over time, that Treasury regulations are very clear that government must pay within 30 days. And so I did the right thing by inquiring to the IDT, what is going on? What is the process here? I cannot interfere and say, you must pay this person. But as the executive authority, I have every right to play oversight and to inquire why regulations are not being adhered to. And what that set off was opportunistic behavior by the EFF when they then went and laid a criminal charge against me and went to the public protector. And once it became clear that there was no evidence against me, they lost interest, and they didn't even follow up with the interim report. The interesting point around this whole thing was then Action SA's response to this claim, who then asked the president to suspend me. And at that time, we didn't know the full scope of what was going on in the IDT around that 800 million rand oxygen plant tender. But it was very clear that political parties and individuals had a lot to gain by getting me out the way, and that's why they wanted me out of office. And we see what now the result of that was once the report has cleared me.
If you want to be hands-on, where's the line between fixing a broken system and perhaps overstepping?
Well, I think what you have to do is you have to continually chart a path of delivery while fixing. It's like that old adage of fixing the plane while you fly it. I don't think that you can stop one to do the other. And of course, some of these things you have to do by motivating people to change the direction, and sometimes you have to do through by force and say, actually, we can't continue along this this trajectory anymore. So it's walking that fine balance.
You've spoken before about pushback against your cleanup drive. Where do you find the most resistance? Is it other politicians? Is it officials who are entrenched? Or is it a system itself that encourages this kind of behavior?
So I've tried to take the approach, Bongani, that says to my team that I won't ask you to do anything that I'm not prepared to do myself. So I ask everyone to work hard. I work hard. We work long hours and long days to try and rebuild the system. I think that the system also sometimes creates paralysis in that it doesn't incentivize people often to take bold decisions, and because they can then find resistance, and then they don't have the backup of senior management or the minister. And I've always said to my team, if you make a decision, I will back you, but just make the decision, and then we see where it heads out. So we're trying to reform the culture from within. We're also trying to shield the department from political interference, from outside influence, and just say that the thing that we want to do is to deliver two things and two things only: growth and jobs. That is our daily obsession. Every decision that we make is measured against those two metrics, and if it doesn't meet that test, we throw it out.
Where are we on the late payments for contractors? I mean, we've seen this as an issue really for decades. Delays, excuses, and I suppose you really want more than just slogans in place to fix it. You need systems that become institutionalized so that the system almost works on its own.
Absolutely, and I want that system to live beyond my term in office, and that's why we have embraced digitization and digital technology wholeheartedly, and say that actually our systems, we have files like you cannot believe. We don't want to operate on paper. We want a lot of AI to start coming in.
And that's where the fiddling happens, right?
And so we become predictive, and we're piloting e-procurement. So we actually take the human hand out of procurement altogether. And I think that that's really exciting for us, so that we build something that's more than us, outlasts us, and delivers for a lot longer. The one thing I am proud of is that we sit at around between 98 and 99% of payments on time within 30 days. Because I understand that if you want to kill business and if you want to see people on the street, if government doesn't pay on time, that's the surest way to do it. So we're very proud about increasing that record now. I want to get to 100%. 99% is not good enough for me.
The construction mafia, you mentioned a little earlier on, are we turning the tide as far as that is concerned? Arrests and convictions, along, of course, with projects now starting to come back on stream?
I think so. And, that's one of our great successes. And everyone told me, don't touch it, Dean. It's too dangerous. People lose their lives. But, we can't just sit back and watch thugs and criminals overrun our sites. And so our construction action plan puts the fighting the construction mafia at the heart of that. We've seen 175 people convicted of site stoppages. In KwaZulu-Natal, we used to have 60 stoppages a month. We are now down to less than 10, which is unbelievable. And confidence exists in the construction industry. That's why you've seen that turnaround in the contribution to GDP. Numbers are up in jobs. Businesses are hiring again. Construction companies are seeing profitability because they don't have those stoppages like they used to.
Where's your oversight role when it comes to a matter like that George building collapse? I think a lot of people are still uncertain as to where that matter is. Doesn't seem that there's much progress in terms of arrests or at least visible accountability. What's your role in that?
I don't want just people to get a fine or people to say, oh, this was a tragic mistake. 34 people can't die and someone doesn't end up in jail. Absolutely. There must be criminal consequences. And so
Have there been?
And so I've actually worked really hard to protect the sanctity of that report so that the NPA can go and secure a conviction against those that have been found to be wanting. And so I've taken a bit of flack publicly and in Parliament because I haven't released the report publicly. But that's because law enforcement and prosecutors have asked me not to, so that they can actually take that sterile report as the basis of those criminal charges. And I'm really hoping that they do it sooner rather than later.
But if it's going to come out in the court process, it will be public record anyway.
Of course, and then it can do so. But what we can't do is we can't allow the investigation and the prosecution to be undermined by a key piece of evidence. And that's really how we see that now, as a key piece of evidence to prosecution.
On a completely unrelated matter, because KZN is close to your heart, we're watching the government of provincial unity there. How long can you guys hang on to that province?
Well, I'll be meeting with the NFP in my capacity as the chairperson of the DA in KwaZulu-Natal. We have a bilateral with them, and we've said to them that, we still see them as partners for progress in the province. We don't want them to leave the government of provincial unity. We want to hear what are their concerns, where are the areas that we can work together and try and find solutions. But
if you don't?
Well, we'll have to cross that bridge when we get to it. But I still remain hopeful that the NFP can stay in government, that we can resolve any of those differences. And my party, which forms part of that coalition, is going to do everything that we can to protect the government and keep delivering for the residents of KZN.
Dean McPherson on reform, resistance and results in the Department of Public Works. Appreciate your time.
Thanks so much for having me, Bongani.
EWN Business.
Time for business news now. Muteo Haripe, SA inflation slowing down in November. The numbers that are coming out, they bode well for interest rates.
Fingers crossed next week, exactly in a week. Next week, Thursday.
That's
when
the
announce
next meeting
on interest rates for the first time this year. But South Africa's inflation eased down to 3.5% in November, with the overall CPI slipping 2.1% for the month. Despite the lower inflation number, food inflation rose to 4.4%. Meat prices jumped the highest since early 2018. Red meat prices have put pressure on the rest of the market as South Africa tries to get a handle of the foot and mouth outbreak. Vehicle inflation was also at a 12-year low. Used car prices have gone down while new car prices have gone up slightly, while fuel prices also slipped on a month-on-month basis.
So gaze into your crystal ball. What might we hear next week?
Some economists are saying 25 basis point cut, while some are saying that the SARB will hold. But South African Reserve Bank Governor Lesetja Kganyago says he favors ending the use of the prime lending rate. This is the prime lending rate, the main reference that commercial banks use in the country to price repayments for things like loans, bonds, and financing cars. The central bank confirmed earlier this month that it is reviewing the rate that has been fixed at 350 basis points above the country's monetary policy rate since 2001. He wants it scrapped and for South Africans to operate at the repo rate at 6.75%.
Your indicators?
Still a good day for the country in terms of the rand is still punching above its weight, while the JSE was also quite stronger yesterday. The rand now at 16.27 against the US dollar, 19.03 against the euro, and at 21 rand 83 cents against the British pound. Price of gold $4,799 an ounce, or platinum at $2,440. Brent crude at $65.29 a barrel. More business in about an hour.
Bali Dlamini is at the news desk. Bali, good morning to you once again. How safe are our kids?
Well, Bongani, that's what officers are trying to determine this morning. The Transport Department is conducting surprise raids on scholar transport vehicles. That's across the south of Johannesburg this morning. The blitz follows a deadly scholar transport crash in Vanderbijl Park this week, which claimed the lives of 12 children. The tragedy has forced government into action with promises of tougher oversight and reform in the scholar transport sector. Our reporter, Mongezi Koko, is at that operation in Lenasia and joins us live now. Mongezi, can you take us through what is happening on the ground?
Well, Mbali, it's the height of the morning school rush here in Lenasia, with traffic backed up as officials move from vehicle to vehicle, checking every scholar transport minibus that passes through. This is a coordinated operation involving transport and law enforcement officials as government moves to reassert control of the scholar transport sector. Now, Bali, from 2024 to date, at least 31 people have died in scholar transport crashes nationwide, putting intense pressure on authorities to act. This morning's blitz is aimed at deterring lawlessness and negligence, with officials clamping down on overloading and roadworthy vehicles and drivers without proper documentation. Every scholar transport vehicle is being stopped, no exceptions, as officials adopt a zero-tolerance approach. The Department of Basic Education has also promised stringent new regulations for both private and public operators as part of a broader crackdown. Monkey Zikoko, Eyewitness News, reporting live in Indonesia.
Let's move to the Western Cape now, where the George municipality is urging residents to use water wisely as the town's water supply comes under serious pressure. The Garden Route Dam is currently sitting at just 45.36%, raising concerns about long-term water security. Level 2 water restrictions are now in place, limiting outdoor water use and discouraging non-essential consumption. Spokesperson for the municipality, Ntobeko Mangwengwe.
The George municipality is taking action to save water on all municipal swimming pools under level 2 water restrictions. Conville, Hwang, and Uniondale swimming pools will operate on weekends only. Measures include restricted hours, closed showers, and water-saving backwash systems. These steps help reduce water loss while still hosting approved events.
And US President Donald Trump says his country is now exploring a potential deal on Greenland after talks with NATO. He has now backed off plans to impose tariffs on European allies that had opposed his plans for America to acquire the island. Trump took to his Truth social media platform, describing his meeting with NATO as very productive. Earlier, Trump had told the World Economic Forum in Davos that he would not use military force but wanted talks to secure ownership of the territory.
What we have gotten out of NATO is nothing except to protect Europe from the Soviet Union and now Russia. I mean, we've helped them for so many years. We've never gotten anything.
But now he seems to be singing a slightly different tune.
Well, the deal is going to be put out pretty soon. I mean, we'll see. It's right now a little bit in progress, but pretty far along. It gets us everything we needed to get.
In your weather, partly cloudy Thursday with isolated showers and thundershowers expected in Gauteng today. Lows of between 13 and 14 degrees and highs of between 25 and 28.
And in the traffic, we've got delays. In fact, peak time pressure along the N12 West in the Germiston-Edenville area. This is between Craft Road and the Kilulis interchange. Speaking of Edenville, we've got an accident reported right on Edenville Road. It's near Northreef Road. It's causing delays. Please be on the lookout there.
The top story in EWN, the Transport Department is conducting surprise raids on scholar transport vehicles across the south of Johannesburg this morning.
The countdown to the Barron's Gone in 60-hour sale has begun. From 22 to 24 January, over 100 cars must go at prices so low, it's a steal. Save thousands on new, demo and used Vivos, Polos, T-Crosses, Tigos, Tiguans and more. Stock is limited, blink and they'll be gone. Speak to Barron's Woodmead and Brummer today. Barron's, the Volkswagen people.
Psst. Hey, no longer feeling like the man you used to be?
The man who's the life of the party, even when he doesn't attend.
The fact is, 95% of men with low testosterone go untreated.
Vitamin High Performance Supplements for men helps recharge energy, regain lean muscle, and reload performance. Available at all good pharmacies and vitalamin.co.za.
Vitalamin. Don't get older. Get better.
Get online exclusive Unreal deals for 3 days only at Pick and Pay ASAP and Mr. D. Get 600-gram Lancewood cheese for only R99.99 each. And 1 litre Pick and Pay extra virgin olive oil for only R159.99. Get hundreds of Unreal deals delivered by Pick and Pay ASAP and Mr. D. Valid 23 to 25 January. T's and C's apply.
702.
WhatsApp Bongani on 072
702 1702.
Good morning, 702 listeners and Bongani. I just want to give kudos to Dean McPherson. I've not always been a DA supporter, but listening to him just articulate the things he's doing for that department and how confident he is, how knowledgeable he is, how much he understands the things that are happening in his department is a kind of leadership we haven't seen in many years. So, I mean, if this is what they have to offer, you know, they're literally picking my interest. So kudos to him. And I think, well, I hope the ANC is listening and taking notes because we haven't seen anything like this coming from them.
Morning, Bongani and the breakfast team. Just an interesting observation from the 2 interviews you had with the different ministers yesterday and today. Yesterday's interview was full of we engaged, we spoke, we consulted. And today's interview was full of I personally, my team. So I just found that interesting. I guess it's different leadership styles. Good day. Admire from Report.
Admire. I just love how 702 Landers will pick apart every detail of the interview. I really appreciate that kind of engagement with how we speak, or at least the guests that come onto the show speak. I played you a clip earlier on. This is around the scholar transport issue. And of course, you heard now in Eyewitness News, transport officials doing spot checks on scholar transport vehicles being seized, some being impounded for not being roadworthy this morning. But in that clip was a conversation between President Ramaphosa and the Minister of Basic Education, Siviwe Kwahube. And they were just talking about how standards need to be raised. The president even making the comment that perhaps these scholar transport drivers need to have the kind of skills that his drivers have. Because, of course, the people that move the president around the country are very skilled at what they do. That's the kind of standard the president says he wants. And having heard the two interviews with Minister McPherson today and Minister Ramaphosa yesterday, what's your sense of the GNU, where there are actually politicians who are getting on with it and just making things work? Does it give you a sense of comfort when the people we bring on come and actually have answers and can give explanations, and you've got a sense that actually there are one or two grown-ups in the room?
702.
What's the question?
What's the question is brought to you by Outsurance, a chance for you to win up to 3,000 Rand in cash. First 1,000 Rand for the answer, and then 2,000 Rand if we can get the question. SMS out to 45142 now. You could save on your car insurance. If you don't, Outsurance will give you 500 Rand. Leonard has today's answer. Leonard, what's today's answer, please?
$200,000.
$200,000. And tell me, Leonard, have you got yourself a quote from Outsurance?
Yes, Bongani.
I don't have $200,000, but I can give you 1,000 Rand in cash. All thanks to Outsurance and 702. $200,000 is the answer. What's the question? Call us if you know on 011 8830 702.
EWN Sport.
Cindy Paluta, let's talk Champions League. Harry Kane continues to be a top draw performer, doesn't he?
Yeah, Harry Kane left England, obviously, and joined a whole lot of teams. And at Bayern Munich, he's really had a chance to shine. And last night, he scored both goals. They beat St. Galois 2-0. They're through to the Champions League last 16, along with Barca, who beat Slavia Prague 4-2, and Juventus, who beat Benfica 2-0. Liverpool and Newcastle got 3-0 wins over Marseille and Eindhoven. Chelsea narrowly beat Paphos 1-0. Blues boss Liam Russell.
We knew Paphos very well organised, and they've always been a big challenge to the opposition. A lot of good things in our game, just the final bit, and we had dominance and control, chances. The goalkeeper makes some really, really good saves. But what I liked about the team today was that the body language didn't change, the energy in the team, the counter-pressing. The press was really, really good. You want to score more goals, but at the end of the day, we're in a position now where we know if we win the next game, we're in the top 8.
Also wins last night for Qarabağ and Athletic, while Galatasaray held Atletico to a 1-0 draw. Manchester City's players are so embarrassed by Tuesday's 3-0 loss to Bodo Glimt that they've agreed to refund fans who bought tickets to watch them lose in Norway.
Jeepers. Wow.
Well, you could say embarrassed or remorseful, but remorse comes with embarrassment, right?
Yeah, I mean, you played that clip from Haaland yesterday.
Well,
and
he said, I don't know.
Yeah, shame.
There were only 300 and something fans, though, from Manchester City. So if you take, I think I worked it out on the exchange rate, which was, let's say 374 fans at 525 Rand a ticket. It's only close to 200,000 Rand, which divide by 22 is like 8,000 pounds between 15 of them in a squad. It's literally 595 Rand each. Or 595 pounds each.
Yeah.
So, they drop pound, like a £100 note, and they don't even bother to pick it up because that's how
clearly.
Anyway, in the Betway Premiership last night, TS Galaxy beat Miramogo Lance 2-0 with goals from Katao and Letsuelo. They're up to fifth on the table. Pretoria Capitals last night beating Sunrisers Eastern Cape by 7 wickets, booking their place in the SA20 final. Parsons took 3 wickets as Sunrisers posted 170 for 7. He sealed the Man of the Match award with their 60 from 40 as well. And then Dewald Brevis finishing unbeaten on 75 from 38. Here's Brevis.
Everyone is getting better. I think bowlers are obviously getting better. Batters also getting better. To be honest, I think that was a really nice wicket. I think also you never know how our game works out. There's so much momentum shifts in T20, and this is a really high, a very, very great competition where guys play at a high level, and it's very strong.
Tonight's eliminator between Paul Royals and Joburg Super Kings. The winner will meet Sunrisers in tomorrow's qualifier at the Wanderers. And live tennis from the Australian Open, the ladies' defending champion Marion Keys beat fellow American Ashlyn Kruger 6-1, 7-5.
I think overall today, pretty happy. I think I started really well, obviously, and I was expecting her to raise her level, which she did. But I was just really happy that I was able to kind of stay gritty and stay in that second set and be able to get out of it with a straight sets win.
Djokovic is through to the third round with a straight sets win over Maestrelli 6-3, 6-2 and 6-2. Cindy Paluta, Eyewitness News Sport.
Clement Maniatella.
Weekday mornings,
9 to 12.
9 to 12.
The DA elective conference, do you still think you've got it in you to still hold any leadership position?
I would have, but I don't want one.
You don't want one?
No, I've done what I've had to do.
Yeah.
And I feel that my job is now to try and help fix local government, because South Africa can't succeed unless our metros are functional.
So if you don't succeed in Johannesburg, is that you bowing out, or you'll join the city council in the opposition benches?
Well, it depends. I mean, obviously we're in it to win it. We don't go in to lose.
Like any other party.
Yeah, and we'll put our massive effort in to win it. If that doesn't work, if the voters of Johannesburg decide they want more of the same that they've currently got, well, then the voters get the government they voted for, which is very sad.
Clements Maniatella.
9 to 12 on 702.
Start the year with We Buy Cars. Selling your vehicle? They'll come to you, handle everything and pay you instantly. Simply visit webuycars.co.za and complete the form to discover what they'll offer you. Need a new ride for the new year? Browse thousands of options online or at any We Buy Cars branch nationally. We Buy Cars. Buy or sell the simple way.
Naked people are totally zen because naked people spend less time on insurance admin and more time meditating and balancing their chakras. With Naked, you can cover your car, home, and stuff in seconds, and it's all online, so that means no long phone calls. Go to naked.insure now, get a car insurance quote in 90 seconds, and start meditating like naked people. Naked Financial Technology is an authorized FSP. Get naked.
This is your captain speaking.
To all passengers who booked at Flight Center last year, congratulations. You've officially upgraded to Travel Legends. You were out there living it up, posting beach pics and sipping mocktails at sunset. To everyone else still thinking about it, this is your wake-up call. It's a new year. Time to turn someday into this year. Visit flightcenter.co.za or your nearest Flight Center store today. Flight Center, your center for travel.
EWN Traffic.
12 to 8, let's catch up with the roads. More peak time delays in a lot of places.
Yes, Bongani, if you're traveling in the city of Tshwane along the N14 East, you expect heavy traffic volumes between the R55 and the Braakfontein interchange. Peak time delays there, as well as on the N1 South between the Proof Plus interchange all the way to the Flying Saucer turned off. If you want to avoid these delays, please try to use the R21 South. Otherwise, other areas, or rather roads within the Gasfontein area as well as Morotela Park are heavily backed up as well. Routes that are affected include Gasfontein Road, De Villebois, as well as Linwood Road. Then if you're traveling along the R80 East Mabopane Highway, delays between the R55 and Eskom Pahlele exit. In Germiston, we still have got those delays on the M2 East between the Geldenhuys interchange and Refinery Road, along with the N3 North towards the Geldenhuys turn off. Delays coming out of the Elands interchange. Road wrecks as well as an earlier accident are causing these delays. Please be on the lookout there. More updates coming up. Stay tuned.
There's more EWN on air, online, and on the EWN app. 702.
What's the question?
For 2,000 Rand in cash, all thanks to Arturance. Please tell me, what's the question? If the answer is $200,000, let's go to Noloyiso in Midrand. Noloyiso, what's the question?
Hi, Bongani. The question is, how much cash was stolen from Palapala Farm?
Nope, Noloyiso, that's not the question. Francis in Kempton Park. You want to have a go at it? Francis?
Yeah, good morning. The question is, how much cash was stolen from President Ramaphosa's Palapala Farm?
Nope, it's not the question. In fact, wasn't it 580,000 that was allegedly stolen from the president's farm? So that's not quite it either. Let's go to Mandla in Alexandra. Mandla, what's the question?
Yes, good morning.
Good morning, Manta. Go ahead. What's the question?
Yes, the question is, how much did the two PhD Indian students win in a settlement for being racially discriminated by colleagues claiming that their food had a pungent odor?
Yes, indeed. Two Indian PhD students have won a $200,000 settlement from a university in the US. They alleged racial discrimination because their colleagues objected to the smell of Indian food they had heated in a campus microwave. And they said, as a result of the incident, they'd been harassed. They'd even had their academic funding and support withdrawn. And the case has fueled debate about what you might call food racism and cultural bias, particularly by ethnic minorities overseas. Mandla, tell me, have you got yourself a quote from Outsurance?
Yes, I'm an Outsurance client.
You biscuit, 2,000 Rand is coming your way, all thanks to 702 and Outsurance. And it really does spark a debate for me around how people view food they are not familiar with, right? I think we got a voice note earlier on, and somebody said, can you imagine people bringing, a smiley, which is a sheep's head, and putting it into the work fridge? Wouldn't that smell bad? And my presumption is that because you're unfamiliar with the food and its smell, you then feel you have the right to decide what people can and cannot eat. How do you take it? How do you dice it? Let's talk.
Morning, Mr. Bingwa. I was once caught warming my smiley on a microwave, which is at the canteen. And we had this lady who was a vegetarian. And then once I pulled it out and she came in the kitchen and she saw everything, she cried uncontrollably. Well, fast forward to that, the matter was escalated to HR and we were both put on diversity. I'm Paul from Rustenburg.
Morning, Bob. Happy New Year. Who said a smiley smells? A smiley doesn't smell at all. People have issues.
Wait, whoa. She objected to the smiley. She cried because it was a sheep. Would she have objected or cried if it had been lamb chops? I mean, what's the difference? Because you see the sheep's head. Or is it me? What am I missing? And yes, that's a fair question. Does a smiley smell? I can't remember. And that's, again, because I'm familiar with a smiley. So I wouldn't necessarily think of it as something that has a particular odor. All right, so what about green nyama, as my kids used to say? Green nyama. Tripe being microwaved in the work kitchen microwave. You walk into the kitchen and there's the smell of green nyama. I mean, do we say things that don't have a good smell? Do we say that do just because we want to avoid cultural insensitivities? What's the conversation to be had around that? Or do you accept that, yeah, certain things don't, eggs don't smell good at times. Cabbage has a bad smell.
And fish.
Do you make people feel bad because they brought cabbage to work or eggs to work? Let's talk.
Outsurance is saving 27-year-old Liam big bucks on his car insurance.
Saving so much every month, around 640 Rand.
That's an awesome 640 Rand saving on Liam's 2020 Ford Ranger. And after 3 claim-free years, he gets an out bonus.
Definitely getting a lot out.
Get a quote now and see how much money Outsurance could save you. SMS out to 45142. That's out to 45142. Licensed insurer and FSP. TCs and information online.
When it comes to protecting your workforce, trust the workwear brand that has been protecting workers for over 150 years. Sweetall. Sweetall has overalls and uniform solutions for every industry, so your team is safe, comfortable, and ready to tackle any challenge. Visit our Boksburg showroom, shop A1 Atlas Road, Westwood, Boksburg, or go to sweetall.com today. Sweetall, we never let you down. Superior protective workwear since 1871.
It was actually a flawless process.
It definitely pays to switch.
I wish we had done it sooner.
Outsurance business insurance clients know that it pays to switch. And did you know, when you claim, your excess is a fixed amount, not a percentage of the claim. For beauty salons, convenience stores, and all other businesses. Get a quote today and see why it pays to switch to Outsurance business insurance. Visit outsurance.co.za or call 08600 60,000 today. Licensed insurer and FSP. TCs and information online.
702.
702. What's gone viral?
With Kabazela.
Catch up with the world now of viral content. Kabazela.
Good morning to you, Bella.
Ooh, there's some reputational damage over this video. Tell me about a flame-grilled garden.
I mean, I'm sure many people have seen this video, but if you haven't seen it, it involves steers workers at a particular franchise in the Pretoria area. And these steers workers are wearing their purple shirts, their familiar purple shirts that you would see when you walk into a steers branch. And they're doing gardening. It's bizarre. They're cutting back, branches and weeds and all this kind of stuff. So many people had driven past, but one guy stopped and spoke to the worker and said, listen, what's going on here? Why are you doing this? And the worker's response was like, yeah, God knows why we're doing this. And he said, no, listen, I'm coming back. So he disappeared, went to park his car, and he came and he confronted the manager who was there, obviously, ushering these workers around and telling them what to do. And here is a little bit of an exchange between the guy who stopped and the manager of that particular branch.
I'm telling you that's nonsense. Workers, you are abusing these workers. That's an abuse of workers. I'm saying that's an abuse of workers. You can't do this. This brother is a chef. He must work in the chef. He's not a gardener. Why do you do this with black people? That's nonsense. I'm telling you that's nonsense. That's nonsense. That's nonsense. You can't do this. You can't do this. You can't. That's nonsense. That's what you're doing with the people. I'm telling you that's nonsense. These are not gardeners. I'm saying these are not gardeners. These are not gardeners.
We are just helping you guys. This is wrong.
Yeah, I mean, it gets quite heated, and he grabs some of the tools that these workers are using, and he throws them on the side of the road, objecting to this. And he says, why are you doing this to black workers? And of course, the guy in charge says, well, but I'm also black. And he says, yeah, but still, you can't do this to people. Quite a video.
And he talks about procedures, if you hear him there in the background. I mean, I really doubt that in the steers book of procedures that is, says that the workers can go and do gardening if they're not busy behind the grill. Really, really weird. Steers has responded on their X accounts and says all Steers staff are valued and are never required to do gardening or work outside their roles. We take this seriously and are immediately investigating. This will not be tolerated. Yeah. So we'll see what transpires there. But it begs the question, Bongles. I mean, this I'm sure happens a lot, where you get hired to do a certain job in a particular role, and then you get told to do things that are outside of your job spec. And you've signed a contract to do things. So when it comes to those things, have you been in a situation where your boss, your manager has told you to do things that you were completely not hired to do? And how did you handle that situation? And what were you told to do that was completely outside of the area in which you were hired to do?
Your job spec, yeah. Have you been required to do things that are not quite part of your job? And how do you handle it when those requests come?
702.
702.
Feedback.
With Rupfiwa Kone.
Rupfiwa's laughing because she says, yeah, Bongani makes me do things that are outside of my job spec all the time.
Don't throw me under the bus like that. I said no such thing.
No, I'm joking.
Yeah.
What feedback do you have?
Well, Bongani, listeners are responding strongly to your question about marriage this morning. And honestly, they've got me, a little bit sad because some of these households seem really, really unhappy, Bongani. A lot of them are saying...
Just for context, just to explain to anyone who might have missed that conversation earlier, we were talking, of course, on that Concord ruling that says no prenup after Lobola. And the question we asked was, what do you know about marriage, if you are married, that you didn't know when you entered into it? And a lot of people don't have good stories to tell.
It's so depressing, Bongani. People are calling marriage a scam. They are doing more than they thought they would have to do within the marriage. The responsibilities are way too much. There is one gentleman who actually came through and said, guys, please just investigate your potential partner's financial background, because once you sign that piece of paper, you are liable to whatever debt your partner has as well. So
and mess they're in.
But however, Bongani, there were some people who say they would do it again and again. They are
the lucky ones, hey?
You know,
people like you, happily married.
I wouldn't want to brag, but
be
Mr.
nice.
K is doing a good job.
Yes, of course he is. Of course he is. He better. All right, we'll take more of your calls, job specs, and you being asked to do things outside of your work area. Your response to Dean McPherson and that interview. And do you really think Julius Malema will go to that pre-sentence hearing tomorrow full of contrition and apologizing and humility before the court? Let's talk.
This is EWN.
A blitz operation targets scholar transport vehicles in Joburg, and Julius Malema to take Parliament's hot seat. Good morning, I'm Bali Dlamini. The Transport Department is conducting surprise raids on scholar transport vehicles across the south of Johannesburg this morning. The blitz follows a deadly scholar transport crash in Vanderbijl Park this week, which claimed the lives of 12 children. The tragedy has forced government into action with promises of tougher oversight and reform in the scholar transport sector. Mongezi Koko reports.
It's the height of the morning school rush here in Lenasia, with traffic backed up as officials move from vehicle to vehicle, checking every scholar transport minibus that passes through. This is a coordinated operation involving transport and law enforcement officials as government moves to reassert control the scholar transport sector. From 2024 to date, at least 31 people have died in scholar transport crashes nationwide, putting intense pressure on authorities to act. This morning's blitz is aimed at deterring lawlessness and negligence, with officials clamping down on overloading, unroadworthy vehicles and drivers without proper documentation. Every scholar transport vehicle is being stopped, no exceptions, as officials adopt a zero-tolerance approach. The Department of Basic Education has also promised stringent new regulations for both private and public operators as part of a broader crackdown. Mongezi Koko, Eyewitness News, Lenasia.
Let's stay with this story. The driver of that scholar transport in which the 12 children died this week is expected in court this morning. The horrific crash has thrust the issue of scholar transport safety back into the spotlight. Yesterday, President Cyril Ramaphosa said government should explore implementing a public transport system specifically for learners. He was addressing the Basic Education Lekgotla in Boksburg yesterday. Alfara Mushwana was there.
President Cyril Ramaphosa says government needs to draw lessons from the tragic scholar transport accident. He referenced the yellow school bus model, similar to that used in the United States, as a potential alternative to the current private scholar transport system.
In other countries, there are these wonderful buses. The drivers are well trained. We have inherited a system where there has been no real public transport for children to go to school.
For now, Ramaphosa says a serious talk is needed with the scholar transport sector.
The government now needs to sit back and talk also to the taxi owners and drivers and see the extent to which we can work together to improve scholar transport.
The Gauteng government has confirmed that the driver of the scholar transport involved in the fatal crash did not hold a valid professional driving permit. Alfa Ramshwana, Eyewitness News in Boksburg.
We shift our focus to this now. Suspended Ekurhuleni Metro Police Chief Julius Malema is expected to take the stand before Parliament's Police Ad Hoc Committee today. He will answer to several allegations of corruption and being on the books of a member of a crime syndicate. Malema has already appeared before the Madlanga Commission of Inquiry last year, where he was taken to task over his links to alleged crime kingpin Vusimuzi Katmatala. Babalondenze has more.
Julius Malema will take the stand today to provide evidence about his links to Vusimuzi Cat Matlala and how he facilitated the installation of police blue lights in Matlala's private vehicles. The Madlanga Commission also heard how Mkhwanazi scored a 200,000 rand salary increase when he was appointed to deputy chief, despite the blue lights scandal. But Mkhwanazi, before the Madlanga Commission, denied fitting the blue lights in vehicles belonging to Matlala and his company.
I didn't install blue light. I didn't brand the cars. The cars, I didn't see them physically. They didn't come to the city of Ekurhuleni.
Mkhwanazi's appearance is expected to be followed by forensic investigator Paul O'Sullivan next week, but it's still unclear whether he will appear in person. Babalo Ndenza, Eyewitness News, Parliament.
Legal experts say it's important for anyone thinking of getting married to familiarize themselves with the law. It comes after the Constitutional Court declared anti-nuptial contracts as invalid when signed after a customary marriage. This means once a customary marriage exists, couples cannot later change the marriage unless a court formally approves it. The judgment follows a divorce dispute where a couple signed an anti-nuptial contract years after a customary marriage, resulting in that marriage being in community of property. Attorney at Women's Legal Centre Kensani Matileni has emphasized the importance of getting legal advice when thinking of tying the knot.
For there to be real impact and substantial change through women's agency in negotiating their rights and education on those rights is very, very critical. The RCMA historically was enacted to ensure equality in and of customary marriages. So much more needs to be done to ensure that those choosing customary marriages are aware of what the law allows. Similarly, the state must ensure that all laws and policy address discrimination and does not amplify it.
And Venezuela's interim president, Delcy Rodriguez, is set to visit the United States soon. This will make Rodriguez the first sitting Venezuelan president to visit the United States in more than a quarter century. The invitation reflects a shift in relations between the two countries since U.S. Delta Force operatives seized President Nicolas Maduro and his wife. Maduro was transported to the U.S. to face drug trafficking charges. Gold is trading at $4,803.83 an ounce. The rand is at 16.26 to the dollar, 21.84 to the pound, 19.02 to the euro, and Brent crude oil is at $64.91 a barrel.
And in the traffic, we've got some delays along the N17 East. This is due to those roadworks that are taking place right after Rondebolt Road. Please be on the lookout there. There's also queuing traffic reported heading towards Fourways on the N1 South between Rivonia Road and Winnie Mandela Drive.
In your sport, SA20 tonight, Joburg Super Kings take on Paul Royals for a place in tomorrow's eliminator. Pretoria Capitals have already booked their place in the final. Champions League wins for Bayern, Barca, Liverpool, Juventus, Newcastle and Chelsea.
A partly cloudy Thursday with isolated showers and thundershowers expected in Gauteng today. Lows of between 13 and 14 degrees and highs of between 25 and 28. The top story in EWN this hour, the Transport Department is conducting a surprise blitz on scholar transport vehicles across the south of Johannesburg this morning.
EWN, in touch, in tune and independent. For the latest, visit ewn.co.za or download the EWN app.
This is Breakfast with Bongani Bingwa
on 702.
Let's walk the talk.
9 minutes after 8 o'clock. I don't know if you've seen the dash cam footage of that Vanderbilt Park incident. Really quite horrific.
Indeed, Bongani. I mean, it's been making the trends on social media and all over. Really, most people are saying that the driver really had a chance to make a different decision, to just maybe stop or try and keep towards his lane, but there was just no focus on his side.
So we are seeing these surprise raids being conducted by the Department of Transport. I've got a frog in my throat, sorry. Newsroom Africa reporting that 60 scholar transport vehicles have been impounded so far. And of course, we know the driver of that vehicle facing charges of culpable homicide himself. The US President Donald Trump continued to make headlines at Davos. This, of course, following sharp criticism from many of the US's allies. Yesterday, the president addressed the World Economic Forum's meeting in Davos, Switzerland. President Trump arguing that European countries are making that continent unrecognizable.
This afternoon, I want to discuss how we've achieved this economic miracle, how we intend to raise living standards for our citizens to levels never seen before, and perhaps how you too and the places where you come from can do much better by following what we're doing, because certain places in Europe are not even recognizable, frankly, anymore. They're not recognizable. And we can argue about it, but there's no argument. Friends come back from different places. I don't want to insult anybody and say I don't recognize it. And that's not in a positive way. That's in a very negative way. And I love Europe, and I want to see Europe go good, but it's not heading in the right direction.
I mean, it was a rambling statement yet again. I think he spoke for 90 minutes at the World Economic Forum. He was meant to speak about U.S. housing plans, but indeed, Trump became Trump as always, taking more jabs at his European allies, calling them at times stupid.
There are windmills all over Europe. There are windmills all over the place, and they are losers. One thing I've noticed is that the more windmills a country has, the more money that country loses and the worse that country is doing. China makes almost all of the windmills, and yet I haven't been able to find any wind farms in China. Did you ever think of that? It's a good way of looking at it. They're smart. China's very smart. They make them, they sell them for a fortune. They sell them to the stupid people that buy them, but they don't use them themselves.
Yeah, ne? Donald Trump also, of course, taking a swipe at renewable energy.
This is Breakfast with Bongani Bingwa
on 702.
Let's walk the talk.
Big point of contention, of course, is certainly going to be the ruling by the Constitutional Court yesterday around marriage and traditional weddings and prenups. You can't do one before the other. So if you're going to have your traditional wedding, make sure all the legal documents are signed and agreed to in advance. Otherwise, once you go one direction, you can't come back and make a U-turn later. We're talking about that, and I'm wondering if, particularly for those of you who are married and happily so, are there things you now know that you didn't when you entered into the relationship or the arrangement? And also, Kabazela wants to know, what do you do when you're asked to do things outside the scope of what you are hired to do? King, you're in Hammanskraal. You want to talk about customary marriage? King, are you there?
Yes, I'm here. Can you hear me?
I can. Go ahead.
Yes. So, Bongani, I've got this comment. So, particularly as the black culture, the practice is that firstly we go to the woman and then we pay lobola, and then we celebrate white wedding, and then we get married under civil. So, but for me, then it's contradictory, because by virtue, getting married by me going to house, paying lobola, by default, I'm already married in community of property under customary.
Yeah.
And then now we go to the courts, and then we sign civil. And then civil, we say, no, it's out of community of property. And most people do follow that. And for me, it's like, no, you need to choose one. Which one are we choosing?
Yeah, well, that's what the Constitutional Court said yesterday, exactly what you've outlined here. And one of the comments I made earlier, what my curiosity was part of why things have happened in the way that you've just described there, King, is because in traditional African setups, if you're going to follow tradition, marriage isn't strictly between the two people embarking on that decision. It's also to do with the families. In fact, you will often be fined in some cultures in the lobola process if you've already asked for the bride's hand in marriage without the families having had a discussion. Do you know what I mean? So sometimes these things are tricky to navigate. So I was curious as to how the judgment would handle that particular issue. They seem to have strayed away from it because, of course, their consideration was something entirely different. They're trying to protect the rights of women who are made to sign these documents later in the process. And I think that's what they're trying to do. And maybe one of the things we need to get over is this idea that the more Western wedding is the one that we think has more legal status or legal recognition. Marriage is marriage. And I think maybe that's the thing we need to understand, that the state recognizes all sorts of contracts. There's the written contract that you enter into, but there's also the contracts that are agreed to by tradition in terms of various cultures and religions, hey?
Yes.
All right, King in Hammanskraal making that comment. And I'd be curious to hear from anybody who finds themselves now in a bit of a conundrum, because that's exactly what they thought they could do. They thought, if we just sign the prenup after the lobola, that'll still be fine. Do you now find yourself in that situation where you are beginning to doubt the validity of your marriage contract based on what the Constitutional Court said yesterday? And if you're a family lawyer, how busy has your phone been?
About marriage and relationships in general, is that the sixth sense and the woman intuition doesn't seem to work, or at least it works retrospectively. I'm saying this all tongue in cheek, but yeah, that's what I'm hearing now. But the pandemic and the sixth sense, the intuition, I say, we romanticize the wrong things, we look superficial, and then when the reality comes and the mask falls off, we act shocked. We don't see the common denominator in the equation, and the common denominator is me, the one who makes all these poor choices. But anyways, I'm sorry I'm picking on one gender. Thanks.
Good morning, Bongani. I think this whole court case, constitutional court decision, is just proof of how much we undermine our own traditions. So basically, we only consider marriage when we do it following someone else's culture. When it's our culture, we don't consider it marriage. So does that even make sense that we thought that once you customary married, you're not actually married at all? So it's just more evidence that we undermine our own cultures and undermine our own customs.
I see what you mean, and I get where you're trying to get to, but I think these things evolve, right? I'm not sure what you can now define as our culture, because I think those things evolve with time and influences and interaction with other cultures around the world. What might be my culture would look completely foreign, perhaps, to my great-grandparents, right? We'd swear by very different cultures. But it's a lot more complicated than that. I mean, Muteo, if you think about the process of instituting lobola proceedings, depending on which culture you are marrying into or what kind of family you are marrying into, sometimes it's not as simple as, popping a ring out at a restaurant without the uncles having spoken. So how then do you get into a scenario where you've negotiated a contract and you've agreed and the lawyers and the uncles haven't spoken?
Probably won't be very popular for this, but I explained to my now wife that I'm never going to be on my knee popping out a ring, because I didn't recognize that as being serious about someone. I recognize being serious about someone talking to their family about your intentions about them, which is, of course, writing the letter to, yes. So we had a bit of an issue when we had to set up the contract before we got married, because we got married.
See where the concord was going to go.
I spoke to a lawyer friend of mine who was like, look, get your ducks in order. It's better to just set up the contract first and then do the signing and all of that. So we did that, right? But I didn't have to explain to my family what was going on, because my mom and dad were going to be my witnesses at Home Affairs. So my mom was just completely against the whole thing. She even said, like, you setting yourself up for divorce. Why are you not just doing in community of property? Do you guys plan to separate in any way? It was a whole thing that we needed to explain and get by. Until I actually just said, you know what, I'm doing this anyway. And she was like, okay, it's fine. So we got to Home Affairs, where we had an even bigger fight with the staff there.
No.
Because when you get married under an ANC, or you set up an ANC contract, it's a little bit more paperwork because it's not as simple as saying
This
in
is the
community.
anti-nuptial contract.
Yeah, anti-nuptial contract.
Not an African National Congress contract. Just to be
It's
clear.
not as simple as saying in community of property,
Yeah.
you sign the form, 85 Rand, done.
Yeah.
There's a whole lot of other things, contracts that you need to bring from a notary or a lawyer to say, this is a contract you've chosen, you're separating assets, all those things need to be identified. And the lady there that was serving us on the day, and I have to admit she was a little bit older, and also, like my mom, did not understand why we're trying to get into this contract.
And Lifitile, what time? 3 o'clock.
No, we were there, I think it was 1 p.m., although my wife was late. But it was 1 p.m., and she was like, look, this is going to take a lot of paperwork. She starts telling the other people at Home Affairs, like, here's another one with this anti-nuptial contract. Why are you young kids trying to get into this thing? Because it's just a whole lot of other processes that we need to go through. And it's a fight, but I would advise go the right route the first time.
But there is going to be this tension when it comes to traditional marriage as Africans and maybe even say Muslim cultures understand it versus Western marriages. Mike, you're in Newtown. You want to talk about that?
Yeah, I want to talk about that.
Go ahead.
Like I said, I'm very happy you pointed out that when it comes to African traditional marriages, it's not just few people, it's the two families emerging together. And those two families, I'm saying, for example, like in my case, there's a process. Your family goes there, see those uncles, those aunties from the lady's father's side and the lady's mother's side. So it's not even just one family. So if we can respect our traditional custom and not copy this westernized idea of saying that, and secondly, this thing of wide wedding, I don't believe in wide wedding. It's a show-off thing that we don't even need it.
Yeah, on the other hand, though, Mike, when it comes to the dissolution of marriage, you don't call your uncles and ask them to split your assets, do you? You go to court. So when, when do you choose which?
Yeah, that's the point. That originally it's because of our hatred and stubbornness. Originally, if there's a problem in your marriage, you don't need to go to court. You need to call those uncles that negotiated all those things, clearly some that are dead, the ones that are alive, and bring them together and say, okay, this is what you have been going through, and even when there's an issue.
You understand? I don't know, Mike. I think sometimes the uncles can be the problems themselves. I mean, if perhaps there's a chance for reconciliation, perhaps that could be a step. I get that. But if you've reached the end of the road, you want legal means to dissolve the arrangement or the contract or the marriage, right? And so you can't decide when it suits you that, hey, let's do it the African way, and then when it doesn't, actually, let's go the legal. You know what I mean? We're here now, and the Crown Court has made its ruling, and nobody can appeal it. So if you do want to get married, make sure you've got your documents in order, even if you then perhaps don't tell the uncles. And that's what it's going to lead to, right? You and your potential spouse will agree on the kind of contract you want to have, get your lawyers, and then go to the uncles and pretend you've done nothing. You've said nothing, and you live happily ever after. Take it from me.
EWN Traffic.
23 minutes after 8 o'clock, this EWN Traffic is brought to you by Outsurance. SMS out to 45142. You could save on your car insurance if you don't ask them for 500 Rand. Amo?
Bongani, in 4 ways, we've got delays on Winnie Mandela Drive between Witkappen Road and Winnie Mandela Drive, rather the N1 exit. Please be on the lookout there. There's also queuing traffic on both sides of the road between Rivonia Road and Winnie Mandela. That's on the N1. While heading towards Melrose, do expect delays on the M1 South between the Baku interchange and Corlett Drive. Roadworks are causing these delays, about a 20-minute hold up there, so please be on the lookout and approach with care. I will have more updates coming up. Stay tuned.
There's more EWN on air, online, and on the EWN app.
Wait till you hear how much money Outsurance saves 30-year-old Dineo on her car insurance.
I'm saving 1,094 rands.
That's an incredible monthly saving of 1,094 Rand on Dineo's 2025 Kia Sonnet. SMS out to 45142. Here's 63-year-old Almero.
We do save 417 Rand. That's about 5,000 Rand a year.
That's an awesome saving on Almero's 2021 Ford Ranger. Get a quote now. SMS out to 45142. With Outsurance, after 3 claim-free years, you get an out bonus.
Can't wait for that. A little bit of cash for a girl to have a little bit of fun, eh?
Always getting something out. You also get 5 million rand third-party liability cover, covering damage to the other person's vehicle in an accident. How much could Outsurance save you? Get a quote now. SMS out to 45142. That's out to 45142. Licensed insurer in FSP. TCs and information online.
702. The World View
with Adam Gilchrist.
Catch up with news from elsewhere in the world. Adam, of course, Donald Trump's much anticipated appearance at Davos got some attention, but at moments it was really quite bizarre.
It was. It was a kind of wild thing. What else would we expect? We're told, I suppose, crucially, that there is a framework deal on Greenland, rowing back from the threat of tariffs on some European nations and the threat of military invasion. But we don't know what the framework deal is. There's no detail at all. As Donald Trump put it, we hope for consummation. Yes, 'tis a consummation devoutly to be wished. But the wild aspect, I mean, sometimes he was talking about Iceland. I think he meant Greenland when he talked about Iceland. He suggested that America was wrong to have ever handed Greenland back after the Second World War. Well, it was never America's to hand back. They've never owned Greenland. And he also said at one stage, without us right now, you'd all be speaking German. Of course, he's talking in Switzerland, where a good deal of people do talk German. All around him, there'd be German speakers. Wow, it was very Donald Trump. What can we say?
Yeah, I mean, it was really quite extraordinary. And what's his issue with windmills? Let's not go there, I suppose. Adam, let's talk now. And these are debates in a diverse country such as South Africa, you might imagine we have quite often. Tell me about food racism.
It's a thing and has proven itself in America. 2 Indian students at the University of Colorado, basically they got picked on for the fact that Aditya Prakash and Urmi Bhattacharya were putting in a microwave dish into a microwave. It was palak paneer. We call it mutta paneer in my local restaurant, but palak paneer, spinach and cheese, apparently too smelly for some, including members of staff who complained. So Aditya and Urmi went through a whole process. They talked about other microaggressions. Other students from India, Africa, Asia, and Latin America came forward to say, yeah, they also have experienced food shaming and cultural prejudice. Net result is that these 2 students have got $200,000 compensation, which is a lot of spinach and cheese. Don't get me wrong, that food prejudice is not a good thing, but 200 grand. I might bring some egg mayo sandwiches and see how they go down here.
And let's talk about the Russian foreign minister. He wants to know what's so great about Britain.
It's a good question. Of course, what he's missing is the actual reason for us being Great Britain. Russia's foreign minister, Sergei Lavrov, and look what happened to him. And indeed, the name got lost as well. In fact, on Russian state TV, apparently, they often call us perfidious Albion, which is a term coined by the French in the 18th century. We were almost certainly at war with them, but the French-English thing has always been a bit odd, hasn't it? Anyway, it suggests we're untrustworthy and scheming. Imagine that, Bongs. Well, dear Comrade Lavrov, the term great for Great Britain was coined in 1707 when we joined with Scotland and Wales to form Great Britain, as in a greater union, a bigger sized country. Look up the definition of great. There are multiple definitions. Also, while you're doing that, Comrade Lavrov, look up the definition of socialist, as in USSR, or indeed the word democratic, which is, I believe, the term used by Russia about itself.
Yeah, and we in great South Africa will leave it there this morning with Adam Gilchrist.
EWN Business.
Let's talk business news now, Muteo Khwaripe, as we wrap up this morning's business news. South Africa's Reserve Bank Governor Lesetja Kganyago is also at Davos, making some statements there. But the focus is also on this issue of the prime lending rate.
Yeah, the South African Reserve Bank Governor Lesetja Kganyago says he favors ending the use of the prime lending rate. This is the rate banks use to charge consumers. The governor was speaking at the sidelines of the World Economic Forum in Davos, Switzerland. The central bank confirmed earlier this month that it is reviewing the rate that has been fixed at 350 basis points above the country's monetary policy rate since 2001. Meanwhile, Kganyago also emphasized the importance of an independent central bank after recent pressure on U.S. Fed Chief Jerome Powell from President Donald Trump. Here's what he had to say to Bloomberg.
When I have been there in South Africa, we had significant challenges to central bank independence in the year around, literally almost 10 years ago, 2016, 2017. We were fortunate. Our independence is enshrined in the Constitution of the Republic of South Africa. And we had to bring South Africans along with us to rally behind the importance of independent institutions. But importantly is that in the Durban meeting of G20 governors and ministers meeting, there was a ministerial declaration, and that declaration mentioned the importance of central bank independence in promoting price stability at least 3 times. The Johannesburg Summit, Leaders Summit in December, also re-emphasized the importance of central bank independence, and we felt duty-bound to remind the world that actually the G20 leaders had committed themselves to central bank independence, and that it was important that governors actually come out in support of Jerome.
Very important conversation there, especially someone making any secret of it that he does not like Jerome Powell, and he actually wants him to cut interest rates deeper. And you don't really temper with the central bank.
He's gone from insulting him to now having him criminally investigated. Speaking of the Reserve Bank, they'll be keeping an eye, of course, on the inflation number.
Yeah, and that number came in lower yesterday, easing down to 3.5% in November. But despite the lower number, food inflation rose to 4.4%. Meat prices are jumping during the period, the highest since early 2018. Beef, pork, mutton, lamb, sausages, all climbing faster. Red meat prices have put pressure on the rest of the market as South Africa tries to get a handle of the foot and mouth outbreak. Vehicle inflation hit a 12-year low as used car prices went down while new car prices went up, and fuel prices also slipped on a month-on-month basis. It's viewed that this number will be very important next week, Thursday, when the SARB announces for the first time this year on interest rates. Some economists saying it could be a 25 basis point cut, while some say the SARB will hold.
All right, your indicators?
The Rand at 16 Rand 25 against the US dollar, stronger this morning at 19.01 against the euro, and 21 Rand 83 cents against the British pound. Price of gold, $4,818 an ounce, or platinum is at $2,446. Brent crude at $65.15 a barrel. Stephen Crotis with more business this afternoon.
Time now for your latest eyewitness news. Let's go straight to the news desk. Mbali Dlamini. Let's start with news just in.
Thanks, Bongani. Good morning. Well, Advocate Portia Dube has been appointed as the country's new Deputy Public Protector. The appointment was made by President Cyril Ramaphosa on the recommendation of the National Assembly. She is currently the Director General of the Public Service Commission and will begin her new role next month. The position became vacant following the appointment of Advocate Koleka Kalega to the position of Public Protector. Dube has more than 20 years' experience in the public sector with expertise in oversight, complaints management and investigation. Presidency spokesperson Vincent Magwenya.
The President wishes Advocate Dube well in her new role in the Public Protector as a supreme administrative oversight body with the power to investigate, report on and remedy improper conduct in all matters of the state.
The Human Settlements Department has committed to rolling out houses constructed through innovative building technologies by April. Yesterday, Minister Thembi Simelane announced a summit to address the housing crisis. Simelane also announced the rollout of IBTs, which are structures built with structures as a more durable, resilient structure, which is often seen in other flood-stricken countries withstanding the storms. Khomatso Modise has more.
Human Settlements Minister Thembi Simelane says houses constructed through innovative building technologies will address the challenges of informal settlements and homelessness by those struck by disaster because they can be built rapidly and they are resilient and able to withstand disaster. She says while there have been pockets of areas where these structures have already been built, the mass rollout by government throughout the country will begin in April. The department's Director General Alec Muemi.
The key issue is going to be where it is obvious, and I'm saying obvious because those areas have flooded before. We know it. We have recorded it. In those areas, we have to start community engagements. It will be a lengthy, protracted process.
The department says the mapping process in preparation for the building should be completed by March. The summit, which will take place next month, is also expected to address more of the country's housing challenges, including the planting of informal settlements. Khomzo Modise, Eyewitness News, Pretoria.
The Western Cape government says its emergency health services were once again under extreme pressure over the festive season. More than 177,000 cases were dealt with between December and January. Stats for the period show emergency medical services responded to more than 47,000 incidents, while emergency centres across the province treated more than 130,000 patients. Carlo Peterson has more.
Chief Operating Officer for the Western Cape Department of Health and Wellness, Dr. Sadiq Karim, says emergency medical services teams responded to a total of 47,351 emergency calls during the festive season. Karim says 7,353 assault cases were reported, with 1,437 motor vehicle incidents and 93 drownings. 423 people were treated for gunshot wounds, while 4,450 stabbings were recorded.
These numbers again demonstrate the sustained pressure placed on our emergency centres over the festive season. Preventable trauma accounts for a significant portion of visits.
The Forensic Pathology Service confirmed 941 deaths, while road traffic fatalities increased from 89 to 117 compared to the same period last year. Carlo Peterson, Eyewitness News.
In your weather, a partly cloudy Thursday in store for Gauteng with isolated showers and thundershowers expected. Temperatures peaking at highs of between 25 and 28 degrees.
And in the traffic, we've got heavy traffic volumes on the M2 West. This is between Heidelberg Road and the Crown Turn. Off-peak time delays there, while in Eldorado Park, there's been an heavy traffic volumes.
The top story in EWN is also news just in. Advocate Portia Dube has been appointed as the country's new Deputy Public Protector.
30-year-old Dineo knows all about saving on her car insurance with Outsurance.
I'm saving 1,094 rands.
That's an unbelievable 1,094 rand monthly saving on Dineo's 2025 Kia Sonet. And she'll get an out bonus.
If I'm claim-free for 3 years, then I get an out bonus back.
Ready to see how much money Outsurance could save you? SMS out to 45142. That's out to 45142. Licensed insurer in FSP. TCs and information online.
For over 30 years, Bid Air Cargo has kept South Africa's supply chains moving, giving our economy the dedicated cargo capacity it needs. Whether it's oversized, hazardous, or just really, really urgent, when a shipment has to fly, we make sure there's space. Linking all major airports with reliable freighter services. Our promise delivers. Bid Air Cargo. Every kilo counts. Proudly backed by Bidvest.
So let me get this straight. You found a tertiary institution.
Yup, Emirates.
That offers a high-performance education.
Yes.
And uses real-world case studies in its course material.
Uh-huh.
Lets you develop your own ideas on how to solve real-world problems.
Yeah, well, yes.
All so you can make your mark in the working world from day one.
Indeed.
But you haven't registered yet.
Yes. No.
Unbelievable. Register at emirates.ac.za.
Okay, I'm doing it.
Emirates is an educational brand of the Independent Institute of Education.
What happens when investment is driven by purpose? You build a legacy that lasts 30 years and counting. The Mine Workers Investment Company marks 3 decades of empowering mine workers and their families through smart, sustainable investment. Catch the Clement Manyathela Show in conversation with the MIC next week on 702. Find out how the 100% black-owned investment holding company has grown long-term cash-generative assets that fund education, social upliftment, and black business development across SA. That's the Clement Manyathela Show in conversation with the Mine Workers Investment Company next week on 702.
702.
WhatsApp Bongani on 072
702.
Good morning, Bongani and team. Yeah, I cringed when I saw that Steers video, and it's unfortunate, but these things keep happening in the workplace, right? So, workers are not supposed to be doing what they're not hired to be doing. This is exactly why we have a case in KZN how to operate. He was a cleaner, but then there was a shortage of staff, and he was ordered to do extra work, meaning having to operate that machine. He ended up cutting himself. He lost a limb, and sustained severe injuries. He died a few days after. And this is exactly why things like this happen, because workers are not supposed to be doing what they're not employed to do. I cringed when I saw that video.
Good morning, Bongs. Anonymous here from City Deep. Hey, you know what? Kudos to that guy who confronted that manager, man, from Steers. I wish he can come to my firm. I won't mention the name of my firm for security reasons. But yeah, you know what? Even my manager's like that. He likes to give you tasks that are out of your scope of work. If, let's say, you're working in the office and there's electrical fault and he knows that you can fix the problem, he'll give you the task and he'll be like, because you are under my authority for now, so you have to do anything that I tell you.
Hi, Bongani. John here. On the question of Kabazela about being made to do work that's outside your scope of employment, I work for a retail store as an outside merchandiser. So what happens with us as outside merchandisers, you are sometimes sent to different stores. So there's one particular retail store, like one of the biggest in South Africa. So whenever the store is not busy, you get sent to the stockroom to go and mop, to clean the stockroom, to do all sorts of funny things.
Good morning, Bongles. I'll stay anonymous for this one. So I was a project manager for a certain company, and believe it or not, my boss would send me to go and collect his kids from school and take them back home. Yep. So I'm not surprised with what took place at the Steers franchise outlet. Thanks. Great show.
Yeah, and it's important to note that it's not a Steers policy. This was one franchise owner whose manager took workers out of the restaurant and go and do his gardening. And of course, they were confronted by a member of the public who said, this is not what they're supposed to do. Put them back in the kitchen or back in the restaurant. This is beyond their scope of work. So this was one franchise owner. It's not a Steers policy, just to make that clear. But what do you do when you're asked, particularly when you're given tasks you may consider menial or even demeaning outside of your scope of work? Do you go along, to get the promotion, to get the boss to like you? Or do you feel that you don't have a choice because then you'll be victimized if you refuse? What do you do?
EWN Sport.
Cindy, have you ever been in that position where you were asked to do something that...
It's a tough one for the person who's being asked to do it, because we live in a country where jobs are not available.
Yeah, we're all
so
replaceable.
You literally, you know that, if I work in a Steers, there's possibly 50 people who will line up tomorrow morning before 8 o'clock if I get fired. It's so... Yeah,
it's an impossible
what an absolute
situation.
Abuse of power.
Yeah, absolutely. So that video has gone viral because a member of the public saw this
it's
and
disgusting.
said, hang on, you absolutely can't do that. Right, let's talk cricket. Tonight, SA20.
It's the eliminator tonight. So the Joburg Super Kings have to take on the Paul Royals, and the winner of this game will meet Sunrisers Eastern Cape in tomorrow's qualifier, which basically is like a second semi-final. Last night, the Pretoria Capitals went straight to the final with the 7-wicket win over Sunrisers Eastern Cape. The win secured through Parsons smashing 60. He also took 3 wickets, and then Devil Brevis, who was unbeaten on 75 from 38. Here's Brevis.
It was very special to be able to be there out there for the boys. Finish it obviously with Shafane, but Bryce played such a key role as well with ball in hand and the batting. But it was really nice to know that we're going straight into the finals. We've got some time to recover and to prepare. But yeah, very proud of the boys, and it was a team effort. We all fight it out there.
In the Champions League, Liverpool and Newcastle got 3-0 wins over Marseille and Eindhoven. Chelsea narrowly beating Pathos 1-0. Bayern Munich beat St. Galois 2-0 to go to the last 16, with Barca, who beat Slavia Prague 4-2. And Juventus, they got a 2-0 win over Benfica there. Well, back home in the Betway Premiership, TS Galaxy moving up to 5th now after beating Maruma Gallants 2-0. Live tennis from the Australian Open. The ladies' defending champion Marion Keys beat fellow American Ashlyn Kruger 6-1 and 7-5. All Also through today, Anisimova, Pegula, Djokovic and Shelton. And live golf from the Dubai Desert Classic, where Henny du Plessis is 3 under through 6 holes, one off the pace in the first round. Cindy Paluta, Eyewitness News Sport.
EWN Traffic.
8:45 on the button. Let's catch up with the roads now. Amo, how are we looking?
Well, Bongani, some of the roads are starting to clear off traffic, like if you're traveling on the M2 East towards Germiston. We've got delays still, but they are clearing off quite a bit coming out of the Geldnes interchange. And then if you're traveling on the M2 West towards the Crown turnoff or the Joburg CBD, do expect delays coming out of Heidelberg Road, about a 20-minute hold up there. Then in Eldorado Park, an accident. It's a major one right near the Golden Highway exit. It's on the N12 East. It's causing heavy traffic volumes coming out of Klipspruit Valley Road. And if you are heading towards the city of Tshwane, a slight backup really on the N1 North approaching Allendale Road. This is just as you come out of the Buccleuch interchange. Please be on the lookout there and keep it safe on the roads. More updates at the top of the hour.
There's more EWN on air, online, and on the EWN app.
Covers can result in fatalities, especially among children. Each damaged pipe, illegal hookup, or vandalized pump jeopardizes access to clean water, disrupts service, and threatens public safety. Report suspicious activity to the City of Johannesburg at 0800 002 587. Help combat water infrastructure vandalism. Your alertness can prevent disasters. Brought to you by Johannesburg Water, a utility that cares.
At Isuzu, we know every delivery, every kilometer, and every load is building something bigger. This truck month, set your business up for success with special deals across the Isuzu N and F-Series ranges. Don't get left behind. Speak to your Isuzu truck specialist or call 08600 Isuzu and secure your truck month deal today. Isuzu, with you for the long run. T's and C's apply.
Let's hear from Dr. Armand, owner of Monument Dental, why it pays to switch to Outsurance Business Insurance.
It was one call and I was covered immediately. We are very happy with the premium we're paying. I wish I did it sooner.
For dentistries, general medical practices, and all other businesses, get a quote today and see why it pays to switch to Outsurance Business Insurance. Visit outsurance.co.za or call 08600 60000 today. Licensed insurer and FSP. TCs and information online.
Coming up
on the Clement Manyatela Show
on 702.
13 minutes before the start of the Clement Manyatela Show and the man of the hour, Clement himself, is in here in the studio to talk to us about what's on the show. A very good morning to you, Clement.
Thank you for greeting me today.
Do you feel greeted today?
I feel seen.
Do you feel seen?
As the young ones would say.
Do you feel present?
I feel seen.
Were you feeling unseen before?
Yeah.
Invisible?
Yeah. No, I feel seen. Good morning. Coming up on the show, we're going to be reflecting on the constitutional judgment yesterday regarding lobolas, customary marriage and prenups.
It's so tricky because the one thing I think I'm not sure if I fully understand how they dealt with it, if they considered it at all. Because if you think about and I'm talking about really traditional families now, the deal isn't just between the two people getting married. The uncles and whoever's negotiating must speak first. In fact, I remember when I was in the church, for example, often the sort of more Western, the romantic dinner with the ring and all of that, that would often happen way down the line. It wasn't necessarily the first step. So I'm curious now how one negotiates contracts, anti-nuptial contracts, and all of those legal things.
When you haven't done that.
When the uncles haven't even spoken.
That's always been seen like that. And that's not to say that you thought lobola was an engagement. You thought it was an important first step before anything else can happen.
Yeah.
Traditionally, that's how many people have done it. So we're going to chat about that. I'll play a clip from Afternoon Drive, because John Pellman spoke to a lawyer advising people who have gotten married customarily and then they signed a prenup on what they need to do now.
Right.
So that's what's coming up on the open line. At 10 o'clock, we're going to do the hanging out feature. Today I'm hanging out with Shedo Twala. You've seen her on your screens. You've had her on the radio.
I love.
Right? I could listen to her for days.
I just love her.
Yeah, so she's going to be with us from 10 to 11. And then at 11 o'clock, we do our Thursday dialogue. Today, we're discussing whether there must be a boycott of the World Cup in America by fans or the football associations, because there are calls coming out of the Netherlands, out of Germany. I mean, it's a long shot.
The football associations can't,
Yeah.
and they won't, because FIFA will come down heavily on them. But certainly the fans can.
I mean, a lot of fans are already cancelling their tickets.
I have to go to Guatemala for my fellowship, and I'm not going via the States. No way, Jose.
That's a strong
And
answer.
I love the US. I love the US. But right now, I'm very sore.
Viva
Back to
Bongani,
Dompas.
viva.
Back to Dompas. No way.
This year is the year. I'll be catching flights and not feelings. Serving looks Monday to Sunday. 5 a.m. club. Small things. I'll be awake before a Hadida can even say, this year things are gonna change.
Okay, so what would you like to order then?
Just hit me with the usual. Kota chicken, single chips, and a roll.
Oh, the more things change, the more they stay the same. Get the Nando's flame grilled quarter chicken, single chips, and roll for only 82 Rand. Nando's. Oh, what a place.
The team's on a roll today. Let me focus on payroll. Duty calls in the kitchen. That's why I have a business insurer that is agile and on the ball all the time on all things. I chose My Way Business Insurance, getting 24/7 emergency service and saving on my premiums, plus my business assist to handle my admin.
Visit myway.co.za or dial 0860 64 64 64 and get a quote today. My Way is a licensed non-life insurer and FSP. T's, C's and standard rates apply. My Way. Live your way.
Andile here with more than just a horse betting ad. Bet on the horses at 10Bet and ride with a 20% free bet boost on your deposit. It's more than just a race. It's a 10Bet experience. Join now at 10bet.co.za. 10Bet is a licensed betting operator and supports responsible gambling. No person under the age of 18 shall be permitted to bet. Betting can be addictive. Winners know when to stop. South African Responsible Gambling Foundation toll-free counseling line is 0800 006 008 or WhatsApp help to 076 675 0710.
This is Breakfast with Bongani Bingwa
on 702.
Let's walk the talk.
8 minutes before 9 o'clock. Can public memory be neutral? So often stories are simplified and even silenced. So let's go back to between the years 1856 and 1857. Why did tens of thousands of Xhosa people die following the slaughter of an estimated 400,000 heads of cattle because of prophecies delivered by a young seer, Nongqawuse? For generations, colonial historians framed it as madness, suicide, superstition. But newer scholarship suggests something else may have been at play: resistance, purification, a response to disease, dispossession, and colonial pressure. Well, a new musical play revisits that moment, not to romanticize it, but perhaps to ask harder questions about belief systems, survival, and what to do when faced with calamity. Bongani Bingwa is the creator, writer, and director of this production and joins us now to tell us a little bit more about it. Bongani, a very good morning to you, first of all, and thank you for your time. Welcome to 702 Breakfast.
Good morning, Bongani. Good morning, Bongani. Thanks for having me.
I read history, and this period of the colonial conquest in South Africa fascinates me because so much of this kind of story is told often through the eyes of the colonists rather than the people who were central to it. How did you go about figuring out what the original Xhosa people who were part of it might have been thinking?
Yes, Bongani, it's a question many ask themselves because of the colonial agenda and the Western narratives that were put in literature, so that we have a perspective of our own African icons to deem them demonic or to deem them barbaric in terms of our own African spirituality or traditional ways. So, as for me, as someone who conformed to and subscribes to African spirituality, of course, our overview or our eyes in terms of approaching these stories and these sensitive stories such as Nongqawuse, it's for us to then revisit, because we must remember that even tradition is tampered with, because even tradition as well has lost its aspect of spirituality. So as a person who conforms to African spirituality, and the production as well who conform to African spirituality, our overview is spirituality, and then we through the forms of research, orthodox and unorthodox, we then go back to the time and just break down the belief system or the way of life of African people during the time, historically, spiritually, traditionally, and religiously, in terms of the way of life, or how people perceived spirituality in the 1850s. So hence now our overview in terms of this production is to bring to light the behavior of people in terms of spirituality, in terms of this new colonial religion that came, and with the promise, of course, of in what we call today impucuko.
Just so, what did you find out in terms of their understanding of the cosmos and what that, shall we call it even a sacrifice, would have meant for them?
Yes, one thing I think us as African people should understand is that Nongqawuse herself, even before her prophecy, was Nongqawuse. She was not Nongqawuse in 1856 that came out of the blue and summoned all the kings. Nongqawuse was Nongqawuse before 1856. Hence, the kings, Ikumkani, heeded the prophecy of Nongqawuse, because she was known in the Kalega kingdom, she was known in the Xhosa kingdom, and her parents from Amakele clan, who were Amabamba, from the Tangane clan, Amakela, people about Bezizhlobos kaGcaleka. They were known. Her family was known as this upright family. Her father was Mhlanhla. Of course, her family died in the 8th Frontier War, during the 8th Frontier War, and subsequently she was then under the guardianship of her uncle, which was Mhlakaza, under the Kalega kingdom, Munzabele. So whatever happened and transpired during the course of 1852 to 1856, she was under the guardianship, and she was known that anything is possible in terms of her, because the Kalega kingdom under King Kheli knew at that time that this child is not an ordinary child, but a unique child, because of her upbringing as well, and because of course the known prophecy that was hidden in history, that she prophesied, but of course because of history has got a way of deleting these underlying prophecies, because we know in the Xhosa kingdom that no one, even Onengulo, could come and summon kings or summon elders to do such a sacrifice that will change the course of history.
The story, of course, does end with famine and many, many deaths. Do we have any appreciation of the scale of the calamity to the Xhosa people today, looking back?
Yes, we must understand that, like any sacrifice, even the small imicimbi that we do in the house, everyone must be there in order to appreciate even the ceremony. So even during that time, not every kingdom paid heed to the prophecy of Nongqawuse. Hence now you saw that there were two divisions among the Xhosa nation, which are called Amagogoja and Amatamba, the believers and the non-believers. Hence then after that the killing of the cows, there was calamity amongst the Xhosa nation, which then made a war which is called Nongqawuse, which then saw King Khili, Ikumkani, being exiled and running away for his life, because he was then also wanted because he history say he was an accomplice to this massacre. But not knowing that a prophecy, when a prophecy, any kind of prophecy is not heeded accordingly, the results are not going to go accordingly. Even if the prophecy was to bring advantage to the Xhosa nation against the British colonialists, it was then a loophole for the British colonialists to take advantage of that disunity amongst the Xhosa nation.
Should be a fascinating peek or sneak peek back at history. Nongqawuse is the name of the play. It's on the 30th and 31st of January at the Joburg Theatre. You can get your tickets at Web Tickets. Bongani Moroke, appreciate your time.
702 podcasts are on 702.co.za.
And that brings us to the end of this edition of 702 Breakfast. We'll see you bright and early for tomorrow's Friday edition. The Clement Manyatela Show starts now.
This is EWN.
Good morning, I'm Bali Dlamini. Let's begin with news just in. 2 more learners have succumbed to their injuries following a Good morning, I'm Bali Dlamini. Let's speak scholar transport crash in Vanderbijl Park this week, pushing the death toll to 14. Police say the 2 learners died in hospital in the early hours of this morning. This means the man who was behind the wheel when the scholar transport collided with a truck now faces additional counts of culpable homicide as well as charges of